Yes, sir. We back. We back at it again. Yes, sir. Super Dave. Back again with the PA, Political Revolution Podcast. Where we about to go ahead and expose the PAISD and all that bull crap they got going on right now. Particularly, right? The main issue that I have and a lot of other people have with this new letter they've sent out to the parents. They sent out a letter talking about they're going to this zero tolerance policy. And with the zero tolerance policy, if kids have any fights, although it could be for other things, but instead of they have any kind of fights, they're going to go ahead and, have them cited, send them to the cops or whatever, the PAISD, ISD, Port Arthur, the school district police, right? Whatever you call the school district police. Going to send them, and they're going to end up getting them probably a ticket for disorderly conduct. Right, and disorderly conduct is a Class C misdemeanor with a fine up to $500. So, there's zero tolerance policy where you have kids going for fighting, or hell, with the disorderly conduct, it could be anything, right? So anything could be a disorderly conduct. Arguing in class, fighting, just doing something disruptive, it could be disorderly conduct. So this is going to go ahead and accelerate the prisoner pipeline for the kids, right? We already know that, there's already statistics out there that's showing that this zero tolerance policy is counterproductive for the kids, right? But we're going to go ahead and get to my final conclusion. I'm going to go ahead and start this off by go ahead and let you listen to some of these calls with some of the parents and a lot of the citizens think about this. Hold on, stay tuned. Hello, caller. What's your name?
Hi, this is Angela.
Yes, ma'am. Angela, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
My name is Angela Kemper. I've had 6 children go through PAISD. I have 2 that are currently enrolled in PAISD. I've had 4 to already graduate.
Okay, cool. And we're pretty much here at the Revolution Podcast here to talk about this new fight policy they have going on. It's been getting a lot of talking on the internet, a lot of buzz going on. Can you tell me some of your thoughts about it?
Well, I think it's a very poor move by the district. I don't think that'll be beneficial to our children. Many of our children already go through enough, already have financial problems, already have emotional issues, already have trauma. And then they're going to graduate with a record. I mean, that's just stopping them at the door when it comes to getting good jobs, I don't know. I'm really at a loss of words that I believe that when you're dealing with kids, you have to have passion and compassion. And for me, that's something that this district, I can't say everyone, but that's something that many of the people in this district lack. If you want to change your children's mind, and I've always worked with children I've had children to come live with me. I've always worked with children in churches. That was one thing I've always been called to do. So I have some experience on working with children and being a mother of 6.
Okay.
Yeah, the kids need someone who's willing to listen, and sometimes that's all they need. But I find in this district, the adults don't want to listen.
Right.
And so how can you understand a child at their level if you're not willing to open up and listen? Fighting with I think I got the numbers from TEA on how many kids are at the high school, and I think it's somewhere close to 2,000 children.
Right.
So if you have that many children in one building at one time, of course there are going to be disagreements. The adults can't get along.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. That's a good point. Good point.
yeah, I hear rumors of some of some instructors not even liking the principals. Now
Right.
that's bad when you have a team that function. It seems like they're functioning more on being fearful of recourse by the leadership instead of having a job where you enjoy and have leadership that supports you and your efforts in being positive for the kids. I mean, even especially at that ninth grade center, that principal it does not have an open door policy when it comes to dealing with parents. Now, Portery always brag about they have an open door policy. You can contact them anytime. Well, they just had this large issue with tardies. Well, I
Right.
found out from my daughter she has 13 tardies. That has never been an issue for my daughter. Tardiness and absenteeism.
Wow.
She loves school. She's athletic, so she keeps her grades up. She do what she have to do. Now, if you tell me it's something about her mouth, we can go there. I can believe that, you know. So, but I mean, she's even matured from that aspect. But when my child has 13 tardies and y'all never contact me and suspend her, they suspend her until a parent teachers conference.
Right.
I
So,
talk about, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, no problem. No problem. So basically, saying on that point, they'll go ahead and keep attributing the Torres until it gets time to the suspension. Then they're going to go ahead and contact you and say, hey, you need to do
That's
something
right.
about your daughter. Instead of
That's right.
about the first three of them or so, hey,
That's right.
giving you a call and say, ma'am, you probably want to check on your daughter. She's kind of getting a little bit, she's having some tardis. We want to try to catch her at the beginning before it gets, a prolonged issue. Does that kind of
That
sound right?
that that's what happened. But let me tell you, they had an issue at the school. They closed some of the restrooms. So they have two restrooms operating at that ninth grade center. So the kids have to stand in line. It's one boy, one girl restroom. So the kids have to stand in line
Right,
to
right,
when my daughter, I asked her when she came home because I do not play with my children when it comes to their education. I asked her, Lexi, what's going on? Why are you being taught to the class? Well, Mama, whenever we go to the restroom and the bell rings, they give us an unexcused tardy. Now, do you think? I mean, where is the just the common sense, let alone the passion? You're gonna mark the kids who are standing in line and getting to the restroom with an unexcused tardy.
right,
So I had to write Portery, and he didn't even respond. He usually responds. He didn't respond. He had the principal, um, Dr. Murphy, call me and address it.
right.
But I did hear from my daughter they stopped that. But it takes a parent speaking up sometime. Because if the parents don't speak up, they will do whatever they want to do. And
Right.
that's what they're doing with this new um, fighting policy.
Now,
And
now,
parents
let me go ahead and
have
ask you
to.
this. Let me ask you this
Mhm,
about this fighting policy, right? Do you happen to
mhm.
know where it origin that? Do you know why they want to start doing this? I just want to get your
I've heard they've had several fights, but that's nothing new in school. You know, we
right.
used to have, the little groups, the little organizations, the people, the man, I could probably call them gangs,
Right,
the
yeah.
dogs and all these people I mean, that's kids and that's just what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, right. And so if you want to change the child's mentality, people have to be proactive and active in getting to understand what's going on with the child. It's not always the strong arm of the law that needs to take, action when it comes to our children.
Now,
I mean, they don't just take them into the office and talk to them and find out, well, what's going on with you? Why are y'all
right.
fighting? My daughter had, and I'm gonna cut it short. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no
Uh,
problem, no problem.
Somebody wanted to fight my daughter in eighth grade. So we had the principals called the parents in. And I just so happened to know the little girl's mother. So I was surprised. I'm like, I'm dapping her mom up and, hey, girl, and,
Right.
changing the atmosphere for the children,
Right. Right.
and acting silly with the children. And I'm like, they want to, y'all, some young black young ladies, don't allow this or whatever. I told them to encourage them to just resolve the issue. That's not what our district want. They just, I mean, when it's set up, when they go into the ninth grade center, for instance, you go in there, they patting you down like you're a prisoner. They throwing stuff away in your purse. You can't have a backpack. They going through the young ladies' purses. Young ladies have all kind of personal stuff in
Right.
their purse.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just, it's just they don't want to tolerate anything. So if you don't, it's a lot of things that you have to tolerate and deal with when you deal with children. If you do not have the patience to deal with the issues that come along with dealing with children, you should not be there.
And right. And more specifically, what do you think whenever a district says, "Hey, we parents, we need you to go ahead and take control of your kids because they're fighting over here. They're having it's a disturbance. It disturbs class. We're trying to get our people's lesson. I mean, we're trying to get the kids' lesson going, and
Hmm.
your kids fighting. It's causing a big disturbance, and this is another reason why we can't get the grades because as a parent, you need to control your kids. What do you have to say about that? When the district places blame on the parent, it's like, hey, the parents can't control the kids.
Right. The parents can't control the kids, but if the parents can't control the kids, um, there should be things in place to assist the parents. This district gets a lot of money. We have social workers. As a matter of fact, I have a son that's in a special program, and I asked that. I think he was failing one of his classes. They contacted me. I had a teacher contact me on a Friday, the Friday the grades were due in, to tell me that my son was failing. Why didn't you contact me weeks ago?
Okay, so they didn't give you a progress report?
Well, you have to get it offline or something now, and I'm not even sure how to log into that.
Right, I've heard a
Um,
lot of people talking about
yeah,
this, a kind
yeah,
of an
it's a
inconvenience going
problem. Yeah,
online, and right,
exactly. You can just mail that or whatever if you really want. But I believe, and I remember Miss Polk was doing a podcast also, and that was one of my questions. Should the teachers contact the parents if you have any desire that your children in your class are successful? Being in contact with a parent is on the top priority. I send my email address. They all have my email address. They all have my telephone number. If they want to contact me, I'm always willing to discuss what's going on with my children. So if the school wants to be proactive, reach out to the parents. I have a son that was bullied. That's the one that's in the special program.
right.
I took him from Lincoln because he was being bullied so much. But it wasn't until he put a whipping on somebody for them to stop bullying him.
Right,
So,
exactly.
but he'll be the kid going downtown in handcuffs,
Right, and that's
a
another,
$500 fine.
and that's a good question. What do you have to say about when the school district wants to take the kids right away from self defending themselves, right? And
Hmm.
and actually, in my opinion, feel like that they don't want to do the investigation. I feel like they're too lazy to do the investigation. And that's why they just want to put both kids, say, hey, y'all both going to jail, get y'all charges. I ain't got time to deal with it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, when my son, and I agree with you. I mean, it's just all about laziness. That's why this came about, because they don't want to deal with the kids, and it's unfortunate that our kids are at teenage age when we already have a society that views the police department in fear. That you want to use police in the school to handcuff and rough up our children. That's not right. I mean, when my son was in eighth grade and at Lincoln, seventh or eighth grade, and he was getting bullied, I kept going to Miss what was that lady's name there? Uh, my mind went blank, but
Right, no
I can't.
problem.
But she was the principal, and I kept talking to her and telling her, trying to get assistance from her, telling her that my son is being bullied. And I said, well, I'm just going to have to try to transfer his school. I wasn't sure if they would allow him to be transferred, but that was something that I was contemplating. That woman told me, well, Miss Temper, I thought you said you was going to transfer him. I'm like, you know what?
Wow.
You sure right. Instead of helping me solve the problem with my son being bullied, because he didn't know who was bullying him or why.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, she told me, well, I thought you was gonna move him. So she rather me move him instead of help me solving the problem.
So
Though they have a zero tolerance for
so
bullying.
so it's like, hey, you saving me the work from having to figure this out. So go ahead and
That's what
go ahead and move
exact
them.
moving. Miss Baptiste, that's who it was.
Okay.
Yes, sure
Now
did.
now do you think um do you think the issue, one of the issues is that we have in the problem in school is that we have uncertified teachers, so they don't actually know how to deal with the kids. They haven't been trained in dealing with kids, different personalities and stuff like that. Do you think that's the issue? And would having certified teachers actually make a better role model for the kids, and think they'll be able to deal with certain behavior problems a lot better than somebody that's a sub that's unlicensed?
Oh yeah. First of all, at schools like the ninth grade center, they have janitors dealing with people's children. What gives a janitor?
Janitors.
Yes,
Deal,
even
yeah, yeah, yeah.
TJ Lincoln. Yeah, the janitors are responsible for the children. Like
In what way? Yeah, yeah. Go ahead and give us some
for
examples of
instance,
that. Break that down
well,
for us.
well, for instance, when they're in the cafeteria, when we grew up, the janitors just cleaned the cafeteria.
Right.
They
Yes.
weren't responsible for disciplining or addressing anyone's child. They don't even have the education qualifications to me to be addressing my child.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I had kids all through the district. I can remember going to elementary in the Queen, and the janitor would say, "Well, you need to slide down, or you need to do this. You need to stop talking." And that's not for That's not their role
Wow.
for me. Yes, and so having uncertified teachers have always been a problem. My daughter Miracle had did a interview. Um, and it was so funny because of the way that she said it. She said, well, nobody's learning anything because nobody's teaching anything.
Right. Right.
I have a daughter in college right now for computer science, and she said, Mama, I was so behind. And she's very smart. She was on the president's list.
Right.
Almost every other semester, she either makes the president's list or dean's list. And she said, Mama, it was so hard for me in college because I was so behind. So
Yeah.
yes, certified teachers is an issue, but I think the biggest issue is leadership.
Right.
They set the morale. When leadership starts setting the morale that we're gonna honor and respect our children, then our children will honor and respect us. Everything in that place will change.
Okay.
Nobody disrespected Miss Lathan and Miss Pope because Miss Lathan and Miss Pope respected and
Right.
loved the children.
And
We don't
also
have that anymore.
and also, do you think there's a need for more male leadership?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I seen. Let me give you the setting. Because I seen like a little video. I think I shared it with you also. That
Hmm.
they had some dads that came in, and did shifts. Kind of like walking the house or whatnot, being home one, so to speak. Now, I was saying. Now, I thought, okay, that looks like a good idea, but you don't really have to have dads that come in off the
Hmm.
streets to do it. You can just have, your hall monitors and other male leadership inside the place that can actually talk to the kids and be more like a
Right.
coach, father figure for the kids. You don't have to have just dads
Right.
going up. Now, if you have hall monitors,
Right.
you can
Right.
have people in the community that's
Right.
able to,
I want
to
to
talk to the kids and
volunteer.
do
That's
and
right.
pretty much do the same thing. Go ahead.
That's right. My daughter told me that every teacher that's a male instructor, she has an A in their class. Every male instructor class, she has an A in. These kids, most of them come from single family homes that dads are not involved. Our children need to see strong male role models. They especially need to see it in school. Why are all these schools led by females and many females without children? That's
Right.
not logical to me. So we need men in leadership roles that come with a different. Women can be catty, women are emotional, women. I mean, we just need some men that kind of a balance
Right.
um, what's going on in the school.
Okay.
You know what I
Yeah. Yeah. You pose a good question in my mind when you said you have a lot of um, ladies that are in leadership position with our kids. That brought me to the example of is Miss Baptiste? Does she have any kids? Is that one person you're talking about?
Not that I know of. Yes, not that I know of. No.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I know, I know she was a classmate of mine, right? You know, I didn't have any issues with anything, but
Right.
that kind of
And the issue is
brought,
not with her. The
right,
issue is
yes,
not with her, but the issue is with what being a parent brings with understanding and dealing with children.
right,
I
yeah,
can't
and
imagine
that's
someone who doesn't. Now, they can have people who say, I don't want any children, but I love children. But
right,
when you have a love for children, that will show. And
yeah,
I have
absolutely,
seen that. I have not seen that in my interaction. Just because you're in that role doesn't mean that that's your love or your passion.
right,
I
absolutely,
work, a lot of us work at jobs that we do because it pays the bill. That doesn't mean that's our love and passion.
right, absolutely. That's a good point, and I want to say, yeah, and I don't have my personal. I don't have any biological kids myself. I
Hmm.
have two stepdaughters and a grandbaby. So even if you don't have one, if you've been with some people that have kids or something like that, I do believe that it brings a good perspective as far as like having other kids and dealing with other kids. But I understand your question, right? It can give a certain perception if you have a person that's in a leadership position and that's fairly young, my age, in the early 40s or so, that's in
Hmm.
a high level leadership position that's dealing with so many kids, and you may not really know how to deal with them, may not have as much empathy with parents and some of the things that they go through. I understand you can
Hmm.
probably hear it, but being in relationships with it and
Hmm.
or having some will give you kind of like a better perspective, and I can kind of understand that, and I think that really is a valid point that you brought up about that.
You're right. You're right. Just because I mean, it's just passion and love, and some things can't be taught. For instance, we were talking about certified teachers. You can be certified, you can be the top of your class, you can be whatever standard that we can think of they can meet. But if you can't meet that standard of passion, compassion, and love for these children, especially in the society that we're in when everyone is struggling, the kids are struggling, things are changing, and they're trying to fit into change with the changes,
Right.
that's not teaching is not for you. So I don't care about what certification you have. And one problem that we do, I'm sorry, I do care about what certification you
Yeah,
have, but I'm
absolutely.
saying the biggest quality, the best quality is passion, compassion, and love for these children.
Right.
But yeah, but we do have a big issue with having uncertified children, and that was years. I mean, I'm sorry, uncertified teachers, and that's been for years. So I don't know. I haven't gotten a letter this year. They usually send out letters, but I don't know why I didn't get a letter this year telling me that my child is in a class that doesn't have a certified teacher.
Right.
Hopefully, that's not a problem they're having this year. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything,
Now,
but. Mhm.
now, kind of more back to the fight topic, right? Now, I was
Mhm.
looking at what is the Inquisitor? I forgot the Examiner newspaper, right? And I seen that Beaumont ISD, particularly Westbrook, they've been having a lot of fight issues. They've been having a lot of fight club type issues where they've actually been fighting, putting those on the internet, kind of like a fight club, so to speak. And actually, you have different people's Instagrams, TikToks are putting it on there and kind of publicizing all of this, right? And publicizing kind of shows like a lack of control that the school district has and as Westbrook has over the issue.
Mhm.
Now, and I was trying to say, now it seems like to me, right, most of the times when there's ever a black issue acting up, like in Beaumont ISD, like if you have some black kids that's fighting, I believe in that one. I also seen like a white principal get knocked down over there at Westbrook Middle School. it seems like the effects we have it reverberate across the whole county or any type of major black school that'll get the brunt of the discipline, right? You
Right.
have something done in Westbrook with some black kids that's really embarrassing to the district, they'll
Yeah.
hit like Port Arthur. We'll catch the brunt of it too with
Mm-hmm.
this letter, right? And there's also this letter. Can you explain to me about what do you think about that? Is it being a racial issue and the tone of the letter, right? I don't think they actually talk to white kids like that. In my opinion, they have a really
Mm-hmm.
strict tone with it. Like and from what I've researched, I don't believe all the issues was up here. Many of the issues within the Beaumont ISD, and they having their little fight club issue over there.
Mm-hmm. Well, that just shows you, if your leadership allows a letter to go out like that, in that tone, to parents and children, that speaks volumes. They don't care. They don't care what we think. They're going to do what they want to do, how they want to do it, and they dare us. I mean, we have to, as parents, get together. We either going to get together and walk the halls of the school, like you were giving an example with the dads, or we're going to get together and school, go to the meetings and find a way to change some of these things. But something has to give. And I do believe that more of the times our children are disciplined more stern than other races. That's a fact. I believe that. Um, have you heard of any of the other schools? It's not just black schools that fight.
Oh, absolutely. I know that. I
You know
know
what I'm
that.
saying?
But
Okay,
the
so
black schools get disciplined
that's
uh,
different. That's right.
a lot different than the
More
white
harsh.
schools. Now,
That's
you have
more
some
harsh.
kids at the white schools shoot up the whole goddamn school, have a
Mm-hmm.
whole district lockdown in whatever city they're in. They have a whole citywide lockdown. But yet, I never heard I never heard a principal, a board member, a superintendent have that type of tone with those schools that have those mass shooting, those mass murders. When you have school shooting, whether school security is scared to go in and try to stop it. I never heard any of that stern talk with the non-black, particularly white kids, or primarily white schools that the white kids go to. I don't really hear that, but I hear this deep stern talk
Yeah.
during the black schools, and hell, like with this issue, it wasn't even an issue at Memorial, but hell, since it happened and there was some black kids involved with it, and probably putting it up on certain TikToks or whatnot, they're just going to do a whole scorched earth policy, like Kevin Steele said, hey, you can't even defend yourself. We sending all you down there. Your parents need to better take control of your kids, and all this other disrespectful stuff. So, trust me, I do know that a lot of white kids do fight at their schools, and like with PNG, they had a racial issue where this black girl was being harassed, and they had a clip that went online where the black girl was fighting a white girl, and she was like, defending herself against all that racism. But PNG, they act like that junk ain't even happened. They disciplined the black girl, didn't do anything with the white girl, and kind of let it blow over. So with PNG, where they have a big racial issue over there, right? They want to keep that under the cover. They don't do like Port Arthur
Right.
and start
Right.
talking bad and scolding the parents, scolding the kids,
Yeah. Yeah.
just like the slave master, man. It's
Mm-hmm.
just sad how we have these Uncle
We do.
Tom
Yeah. We do.
sold out school
Yeah.
board members, superintendent that don't want that treats our black and brown kids a lot different than they treat other places treat their white kids. I mean, they I never heard of another school start talking crazy to the parents like this letter did to ours.
Man, if you don't think you think the letter's talking crazy, just go have a conversation with um the principal over a ninth grade center.
Right.
Yeah. Those people, just she have them operating as robots in fear. You can't step out of her line of authority to make a decision that um, may be more beneficial for the kids. There was an instance where they dressed up, I think for the 90s or something, a few weeks ago. And so Miss Mitchell, one of the counselors, stopped my daughter to take a picture. Well, my daughter took the picture, but she had left a ring or something in one of her other classes. So after the picture, she went to go get her ring, came back downstairs, and walked into her class as the bell was ringing. They marked my daughter tardy.
Wow.
You know, they do everything they can to keep their foot on our neck. They're not trying to be um, helpful. There wasn't, first of all, if Miss Mitchell wouldn't have stopped her for a picture, maybe she wouldn't have been tardy. But
Right.
then was she really tardy because she was walking in the room? She was standing in the room as the bell was ringing. So was she tardy?
Right. Yeah.
The and she told me, she was like, Mama, the teacher told me to go ahead and sit down. I'm good. But it was a white lady who is the librarian, I believe, told her, well, no, she needs to go get a tardy pass. And they marked it unexcused.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to do that to our children.
Now, now,
Why? You know what I mean?
now, I've also heard that since this since this school district gets like a what is it? They pay in a Social Security over here, right? You have a
Hmm.
lot of people did about 18 years or so in other school districts. They'll come over here with the last 2 years to try to retire or try to
Right.
do the minimum they have to do to go ahead and get the Social Security over here. And they
Hmm.
not really invested in the kids or anything like that. They just come over here just to get the just to be able to draw
Right. The
Social
benefit.
Security over here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's you use a good term, being invested in the children. You asked about them blaming the parents. Well, if you have a troubled child, you have social workers, you have I forgot this lady. I think she's a social worker. I asked her to contact me so my son to go sit with her, the one that was bullied. He has PTSD from school. Since he was bullied, I mean, he was a good kid, happy kid, smiling kid, but since he started getting bullied, um that changed him.
Right.
But like I said, he whooped up on somebody one time,
That's good.
and the coach told him, I'm not even sending him to the office because he did what he needed to do. Nobody bullied him ever since.
Right. That's
But he still has that experience and that trauma from having to deal with that. And I asked that the social worker meet with him, once a month or however often she could meet with him and just have a conversation to see how he's doing in school. That lady never even called me back.
wow.
I emailed her several times. I emailed her with the counselor and with the assistant principal on the email.
Yeah.
Never even returned my call. The counselor started telling me, well, she be very, very busy. She's very busy because she deals with the pregnant girl and this and that. Okay, but she shouldn't be too busy for a student because that's her job.
Yeah. I mean, it's their
If
job.
she's too busy, maybe she needs another job.
Right. Whenever we had the three schools, I don't think we even had a lot of these problems or whatnot. Man, we
Yeah,
had
we
three
did.
schools. It was
Mm-hmm.
the student dispersed, smaller classroom size, more
Right,
scholarship, more personable leadership in dealing with the kids. Man, it's just crazy.
right,
It's
right,
just crazy how they have right now. And and
right.
and and oh, and one other topic. Let me get this. One of the it's a little bit off topic, but not really though. Now
Mm-hmm.
it seems like that the school district always has an excuse for us, right? If the
Mm-hmm.
test score is not doing too good, they always saying the parents poor, the
Mm-hmm.
kids poor. We can't do anything because it's such poverty. We all the kids in poverty. Everybody is poor. But
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that we have some of the best pep rallies, right? The best football games, the best
Mm-hmm.
band performance. And we don't act like a poor school until we start talking
Uh-huh.
about education. We
Education.
getting a $400 million bonds to build a new this, a new that, the schools, even the track I think has been paved. I think the new we haven't they re floored, repaved the new track so to speak up there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of money into all these different things around the school, but whenever we talking about educating the kids, all of a sudden we poor. But hell, we don't act like we poor. Is that
Right.
an excuse, or you think that's a valid option? But I think it's more of an excuse.
I think an excuse. I don't think it should have anything to do with it. My daughter has, and I know I'm not sure why, but they have a problem with getting math instructors. I don't know why, but if math is a place that our kids struggle, why do you have a teacher in that position who has this strong accent from, I think he's Hispanic, if I'm not mistaken, one of the gentlemen, or Asians, these thick accents.
Right.
If math is a place we struggle, put more money into math. Put more money into the salary of a math teacher to get the most qualified teacher
Now I'll
to
go
teach
ahead.
our children.
Now I'll go ahead and do you one even better with that. Now, see, this is a cultural problem and a leadership problem, in my opinion, with Puerto Rican PISD, right?
Hmm.
They have so many go along to get along buddy system over there, right?
Yes,
They
yes.
don't fire the incompetent people. I'm hearing from a lot of people that work down there. They just
Hmm.
move a failed principal over to administration, like with the you still there? Uh oh, hold on. Oh, it seemed like they called it it kind of dropped off. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of finish what I was saying before. Um, I'm going to go ahead and finish what I was saying. I'm gonna go ahead and end that call. Yeah. So basically, with that there seems to be a cultural issue, right? So the culture that you have all these friends go along to get along, um, buddies going along over there. So you don't you have a bad reputation, right? You have a bad reputation of not being able to be fair and hiring the right people. So whenever you seem to be hiring like your brothers, your sisters, and all these kin folks and best friends that are not qualified for it, that's what you get. You get non-qualified people over there, and a lot of people will pass on a job that may want to work over there at PISD, but hell, if you can't get a good job because you got somebody know the board member or you're cool with the superintendent and you're getting an overqualified person, you're not going to get qualified people. Prime example is this football coach, right? I forgot the young guy name, right? He's a kicker or whatever, but they made this young guy the athletic director and the main football coach. And a lot of people were saying they gave him they hired him to be a coach, but they threw in the athletic director job. Now that lie didn't make no goddamn sense, right? Because how in the hell you go throw in a promotion? The AD, the athletic director's over everybody, and they want to focus on the football position, but threw that in. It's just a whole bunch of bull crap. When you're dealing with PISD, is the reason why you can't get anybody over there. That's the main point, and that's leadership, and that comes from the board on down. A lot of these boards that don't give a damn about the people over the Puerto Rico who can't lead all the way on down. And that's it. And I thank Ms. Angela for the call. Appreciate it. Hey, caller, what's your name?
Hi, this is Devon Sagwa.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, brother?
A little about myself. Well, I'm 25 years old. I'm from the city of Port Arthur. I graduated from high school from Sabine Pass,
Okay.
and I graduated from Lamar University with my a social work degree, a bachelor's in social work, and I'm currently getting my master's in public administration.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay. Yeah, can
And
you
I,
go ahead?
then I'm my work experience. Basically worked in the schools. So I've been around in the support services, student services field, social services field
Oh,
to be particular. So that's where that's what point of view I'll probably be speaking from for the most part.
oh, okay. Your phone kind of sounded a little bit muffled a little bit. I don't know if you was covering something or what I'm covering the speaking area. But you said you
Okay.
work in the school. What particular school did you work in?
I've actually worked in Memorial High School.
Oh,
On
okay. So you
last year,
work.
I worked there last year.
Okay, so you
Yes,
went to
sir.
school over there. Oh, so you saying you did go to school there, or you just worked over there
No,
last year?
I worked there. I worked there with communities and schools.
Oh, okay, okay, good. Go ahead and tell me what you think about this zero tolerant policy for fighting, and you can't even defend yourself. Give me your opinion, brother. What's going on?
I think, from what I'm understanding, because I talked to a couple people about it, is that this is already a rule that was in place. So it was already something that's been established. and I guess they're just reinforcing it, and I guess the occurrence of fights keep happening, and they want to get it out there to the parents, and I guess this was a scared straight moment. I think they went about it wrong, of course, by saying, "Hey, your kid can defend themselves." I'm, but from what I'm understanding, this would defer, in a sense, a fight at the school to the court. So instead of the school having to investigate and see who did what and what happened, they can just send it over to courts, and then they would they would hear both sides, and then they'll, render a punishment from that.
Right, right. Now I did see a post where Chris Bates said it was a rule that was already in place. But if there was
Right.
a rule already in place, you wouldn't have to keep repeating it.
Readdress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
readdress it. And the wording in their document, right? It was like
Right.
that
Till
it's a zero tolerance. They didn't have the energy or the manpower, something like that, to deal with this basically, and they really wasn't
right.
trying to investigate whether you're right or wrong that you could be hit
They'll
with
let the courts
charges.
decide.
So
Right.
yeah, so
And then
I don't really remember any kind of rule talking about you couldn't defend yourself. But go ahead on, brother. What's your thoughts?
well, yeah, then that's a part of that too. That wording, it was real bad, And then it does show you that, in a sense, the school is taking removing the accountability of addressing those issues from themselves, because of course they're overwhelmed. Just like everyone, even the household is overwhelmed. We coming out of an experience that we never experienced before in this generation. Kids missing 2 years of in-person schools, and and at some point we knew, like going back into school, that it would be social it'll be social emotional issues involved with it. Our kids, they this is the most developmental time in their life, so they finding out who they are, finding out who they can get along, finding out how to deal with anger,
Right.
and then and they already just as stressed as and as adults. Sometimes we forget this, just as stressed as we are. Kids are too. They're in a pandemic just like we are. They have to live through elderly family members passing away from COVID, even healthy family members passing away from COVID, or
Right.
having to deal with those resources removed from their family abruptly. So now mom lost some support, and now she's frustrated all the time. Now the attention that I was getting from somewhere, grandma was helping me get through a lot of stress, or auntie, and she's gone. So who helped me decipher like how to deal with issues? And I'm in school, and then we go from not being around each other for basically years, and now we in each other's face, and we all frustrated, we all overwhelmed. We behind on the curve, so the school's pushing us academically, of course, but our mental is still just as important as our education.
Yeah, and that's also a good point. A good point that you mentioned, right?
Right.
To me, this isn't nothing new. This isn't anything new that we haven't seen before. When I was a youth, when I was in school, we had a lot of fights,
Right.
got bullied, in high school, elementary, it was all kind of things going on. So this is nothing new. So, you had to actually fight to go ahead and, defend yourself so you wouldn't get bullied. I mean, it's a part of life. It's a part of growing up, fighting. And I think that giving that zero tolerance is just putting kids to the prison pipeline, man. If they're having a fight, I don't think it's going to deter anything, because you have to understand, man, about kids, right? Kids,
Right.
they are fearless. When they grow up, when they're coming up, they're in their fearless warrior stage right now, right? That's
Mhm.
why, in my opinion, that's why you have so many cops treating these kids bad, right? Because the old folks like us, right? A lot of us has gave up. A lot of us has gave up fighting for civil rights, our own personal rights. We kind of gave all it up, right? We kind of, older folks around my age and over, all the fighters are gone out of us. So who's left to fight now and lead the way is the youth, the actual kids. So a lot of them are fearless, and that can be used either good or bad. So with that being said, the kids, they're learning all of this. They're learning all of this, their emotions, knowing how to control it and everything. And it's nothing really, a parent can do, so to speak, right? Because you have all of these things is over at the school. You have 2,000 people all on top of each other. You have about what 20 to 30 kids in a doggone class. I mean, you have everybody going, and you got people rushing out in the hallways, trying to do this and
Right.
that before they have the bell ring. They get the bell ring, they have tortoise. Kids make fun of it. I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff going on that, hell, if they was at the homes, they wouldn't be doing it. So you can't really blame the parent 100% because, hell, the kid is not doing that stuff at home. They're doing it at the school. And they doing it at the school
Right.
because they have a whole bunch of kids everywhere. You know what I'm saying? A whole bunch of kids, period. It's like a whole city built in a couple of buildings. You know what I mean? You have the
Yeah, and of
doggone
course we like
sports.
to.
People going to be competitive in sports. Some things a fight can break up over basketball. I remember I had a fight one time in the gym over a doggone basketball. Something silly. I didn't even think it was worth it. But one of the other guys, hey, they pushing the issue. Then bam, you get into a doggone fight. I accidentally
Right.
blooded his nose. Didn't really even mean to it. And the guy that I had a fight with, he wasn't even like that. He wasn't even no bad dude. So it just things that
Just
come up just
frustration out
got
of
the
nowhere.
goddamn fight. You know what I'm saying? The gym over damn basketball. So, that's kind of how I see some of the stuff. Speak on it, brother.
That's what, and that's we can toss a lot of it up to kids being kids,
Yeah.
but at some, if they releasing this, it's I'm sure it's like something that's alarming going on. So it's something that needs to be addressed, right? And we can say who's accountable here and here, but the truth of the matter is kids are in school systems for a reason, right? So
yeah,
it
absolutely.
is a at home issue, and it is the child issue, and it is on the school. At some point, the school is just as accountable as a parent because these are what kids are. You are grooming the kids just as much as parents are. You might not have that same disciplinary authority over them, but they're learning in school just as much as they're learning at home. And of course, like we like to think like, oh, parents know their kids, and some parents got a certain kid at home, and in that school is a whole different child.
Right,
And they have and they so caught up on, and like we're saying, it's just the time that we're in. A lot of people aren't paying attention to those things, and it's probably totally, they probably lost sight of their kid, or like where their kid are mentally. So they not even into that. They focus on like how I'm gonna get the bills paid right now. I'm just getting back into a job. They took unemployment. I mean, it's a lot of
Right.
stuff going on. So, and we are in a low income area. That's already enough stress already. Like
Yeah.
we know that it's violence come with that. We know all the stuff that come with that, being in this kind of environment. So of course the school has to. I don't like the move of saying like we're not gonna deal with it.
Yeah,
Because
that's kind of crazy.
this is a part of your journey, their journey. You're a part of their journey just as much as their parents. Not just as much, but you're a great part of the journey the school system is.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate for them to say that they're pushing that over to the courts. But I would like to say that it was known. And it's probably overwhelmed. Everybody's overwhelmed, right? And we knew that these kids are going to be behind academically for sure.
Right.
And I spoke with one of my friends. And me and her talked about this like all night the other day, and we knew that they were gonna be behind academically, but we also knew, on the state, national level, this is a national conversation that is going to be social emotional challenges that come with that. It's going to be a lot of like everyone's in this environment is frustrated. Okay, you're saying as a school you're overwhelmed, but each one of those kids are overwhelmed just as much. And but you had the knowledge, and you had the alarm saying, hey, it's going to be social emotional issues. It's going to be social emotional issues. And then when we look at it now, if you didn't build the infrastructure for that when these kids came back to school, then of course you're going to be more overwhelmed because you didn't address it. You just, you thought you could go back to having regular school, but that you already knew that wasn't the thing. And then just from my perspective, the school, it's not that many resources for that.
Right.
For kids who can the kids talk to? They have, Memorial itself has 6 or 7 counselors,
Yeah.
but they're overwhelmed themselves with, they have the load of college readiness. They have the load of each kid's grades, each kid's schedule. So they're not really, they're slammed. And I've been in there with them, God bless their hearts.
Yeah.
I've been in there with them. I've seen how overwhelmed they are. So when do they have time to address these issues with the kids? And then you need it, and I say that to say you need it. You need eight, 6 to 8 counselors on the campus, but you only have one social worker on this campus.
Right,
you
right.
know, and you knew that it was gonna be social emotional issues, and the social worker is not something like these people are sharing this job 8 ways. This person has this one big thing to carry.
Yeah.
Dr. Annie Barker's, and everybody loves her, and she's great at what she does.
You say
but
Dr.
you
who?
can see that Annie Barker's.
Okay. You say Dr. Annie Barker's?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And,
okay.
and you can, and that's going, and you taking away, her energy. Like she got so much passion about this, and she want to see these kids learn how to address these issues and make sure that these kids are getting the right treatment,
Right.
or having the right, the knowledge to work through their own issues and have the tools.
Now go ahead.
But how can she do that when there's so many people that she has to be accountable for, and it's overwhelming? And then you see the result. If you can't address these issues with these kids, it's going to turn into fights. It's going to turn into skipping. It's going to turn into failure. It's all runs full circle. It's one big system, right? So emotional stuff runs with the academic stuff just as much. You have kids getting more fights. And you knew that it was going to be a big issue, but we didn't build this infrastructure, and it's showing. That's what's going on. And this is not like you said, it's not a new thing, and it's not just a memorial thing. Because if you look anywhere, you could call any school district and ask what the biggest problem is. They'll tell you that it's fights, or they'll tell you that this is what's going on. We're trying to catch up with the curve, and every kid is going crazy.
Right. Absolutely. Now tell me this: what do you think that the atmosphere of the school has to do with it? Like I think you're going through metal detectors. You have a lot of police officers on deck. Something was said kind of reminds you of a correctional system, right? I remember when David Banner came down the first time. Either I want to say the first time probably. He kind of was saying something about that. I remember he was speaking to a little bit about you have all the metal detectors and everything looks like a prison, so it kind of instills some negative thoughts in the kids' mind. What did you think about that, or did you see that when you was working over there?
And that's just that's a national thing too, and it's a study that everybody's looking into, school to prison pipeline. And you have, or is this setting kids up for success, or is it setting them up to be in jail?
Right.
And a lot of the things you see are very similar to what you see in the prison system. And then when we add the courts into it, when we defer the thing to the courts, the issues to the courts, then it really does turn into, like you said, you've seen a lot of kids getting a lot of fights.
Right.
But a lot of them didn't get criminal records for it, and
exactly.
We know it in a low income area, so you know it. And granted, I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't result in unless it's a kid that's just continually disruptive, it wouldn't turn into a criminal record. They'll probably get community service, but like I said, everyone's overwhelmed. Who has it's unfortunate, that now it could turn into a criminal record, and kids could be in jail, and it could, now if they do make another mistake, it's like you already been in trouble this much. It's in your actual legal record, Now we see that you and this is problems like a continual disruptive kid isn't just a bad kid. It's something going on with that kid, right?
Yeah, they say
so we need to address that. We don't want to send them to court and then end up being a fine, and then it end up being prison time, because that's what you're making happen in a sense. That's what that school to prison pipeline look like. I'm preparing you for jail. I'm not preparing you for success.
Right, and then the main thing that got a lot of parents, well, not just parents, a lot of people mad is that right here in the last couple of sentences they have, we don't have the time or energy to consistently address and redirect poor choices that result in unruly and disruptive behavior. We are asking you to stand with us and support us as we put a stop to disruptive behavior on our campuses. And I just want to reiterate that again, because the school district is acting like they're lazy. They act like they don't have anything to do with it. It's everything on the parents. And I have to reiterate this, that these kids would not be getting in all these fights if they was at home, because You don't have all those people that crowding that you do at the schools. You have the
Right.
crowding of 2,000 different kids. Then you have the attitudes of the teachers. You don't know what's going on in the teachers' mind. You have teachers that are unqualified to teach. So you get anybody out there on the street don't have any type of personal skills on how to deal with students. You know what I mean? Just students or the youth in general. That can cause a problem. Hell, staff
Right.
might have an issue with each other. You know what I'm saying? So it's a whole lot of variables is into that
Uh,
that say, hey, your child is bad, you need to be a better parent. And this is a
right.
sad instance of a school cop out that's on this issue.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I said. That wording is very unfortunate because it does.
Man, yeah.
We tried to say that it was social media causing this drama, and then and the wording lets you know in a way it's hinting that parents aren't doing their job. But I would like to say that this is a full scale issue. It isn't just a school issue, and it is just a bad kid issue, and it's not just a parent issue. It's a full scale issue, and I think if you want, this is me, talking to the city of Port Arthur, the school district, the parents, the students. This is not a one person issue, so one person shouldn't be figuring out the solution. One side of this can't be thinking of solutions. Everybody has to be involved, and that's what you see. And when we not, and people don't pay attention to that until stuff like this happens, and that's unfortunate too because you vote for the school district, and like now I've seen a lot of posts people saying, well, when is the next school district meeting? You should already know as citizens, as
Yeah.
parents, you should already know when these school district meetings are, and you should be involved, and you should know what the system that's pouring to your kid is doing because at the end that's who's going to be affected, you, the future, your child, their children, because what their education look like is going to affect the whole family and generation after generation. So everybody has to pour in to find solutions, and everybody has to come together. It can't be a finger point game because that don't help. That doesn't do anything but further the issue. Now it's not. Now it's not everybody, coming together to fix the kid. Now on Facebook, like I'm reading, it look like it's the school, and no, I see people in the school. No, y'all don't need to watch y'all bad kids. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a finger point game, and now we not
Right.
finding solutions. We just playing the blame game, and that can't be what it is. Everybody needs to be more involved with that,
Right.
with
It's a
political process of that whole thing,
it's
because you got to vote for that stuff, and you got to put people in place to make sure that your kid's being successful.
and
I'm not saying that people aren't trying. I'm saying like if everybody more input helps,
yeah,
finding the
and that's the
resources, because
problem.
there's resources out there people might not even see, and you might know, hey, this is a good program that can come to Port Arthur that maybe help these kids, or maybe the community. And that's why I like my job with a shout out to communities and schools, because that's what they do. They try to find the resources that's available to help address some of these issues. But the more people that can pour in and say, in this community of Port Arthur is so tight knit, everybody know everybody's business already. Like if you can
Yeah,
tell
you're
me
right about that.
what Keisha got going on, you and Keisha could be talking about what PAISD got going on. We can be coming together and finding out how we can make this a better situation for everybody, or how we can make these kids come to school and make this more competitive. Like you said earlier, everybody compete. The kids got to be competitive, and it's true, because once they get out of high school, that's what the world turns into. They got to compete for resources, compete for jobs.
And
So
man,
we want our kids to graduate from from PAISD at the top, but all these areas that's around, we want these kids to be getting into colleges. We want them to be. This kid came from Memorial, and we want that to be a household name in the industry. The industries around, or in the collegiate atmosphere, because that's what's gonna make them.
and I'm glad you said
That's
that
what's
about
going.
the academics, right? And you kind of, and yeah, I did say the competitive, but you were saying it earlier too, that and what's the problem with this, man? That we have money, we have money to have some of the best pep rallies. We have some of the best games. We have some of the best band performances. We don't act like a poor school until we start talking about education, right?
Right.
Now we got $400 million of bonds around the last 12 years or so. I can't remember exactly, but a bond for 192, and I think the other one's for 195, something like that. Close to $400 million of bonds to build a new school, build new this and that. Buildings, I even think we just got the track repaved red, if I'm not mistaken. So we have all of this money, right, to get
Right.
all of these new things, but hell, we are so poor with the educate. When we talk about getting the kids, everybody's excuse is poverty. Man, they had the excuse with poverty one time for the test scores, and then Frank and Boy T was blaming English as a second language students. I mean, it doesn't stop. If people would say, hey, one part is the parents, I understand that. One part is poverty and the parents, cool. But the other part is we don't have these uh, good teachers. We don't have these, qualified teachers, certified teachers. Heck, we have a
Right.
poor curriculum. Our curriculum is subpar than they have other people. You know what I'm saying? So we have to like look at that and understand that and say, hey, this is an issue. But when you have it's the one side that I'm the best this and I'm the best that, well, the school we doing this, and it's not our fault, and then you want to go, point at the parents all the time. That's just, that's not doing nobody any justice. But I was
Right.
wondering,
And
but I
then
want to go ahead.
and like I'm glad you mentioned, the city aspect of it. You mentioned a few council members, but and that plays a part in it too, because and it just like the school. And the thing is that this is what I was speaking on about it being a full scale issue. It's not because this stuff it comes because and it's the government and the school district is set up the same. It's still elected officials. And the reason why is because as much as we want to say we trust the knowledge of these people, the reason why you're allowed to vote on stuff and you're wanted to vote on stuff is because it takes more than just their knowledge, their expertise. It takes a full commitment from everybody involved, from the voters, the parents, citizens, parents, and both sides, and everybody has to pour in and say this is what we think. And when you talk about budgeting, who we control these entities, these systems. So as citizens and as parents, you control that by voting and voicing your opinion, and that's why you can elect people to represent what your interests are. So if the budget you saying we spending too much money on pep rallies and games when we're struggling academically, that needs to be voiced, and these opinions need to be heard so that people can say, and hey, we off. Maybe that is true. And then if you don't see a change, then you make a decision. Then vote and change. You vote for somebody. You put somebody else in there that can. And that's what it is. And you talk about attracting people to the area, like getting new teachers comes with people wanting to live in this area.
Right,
Having
right.
competitive pay.
Yeah,
Competitive pay won't keep somebody here. I'm being honest. It has to be a full scale,
yeah,
and then like you saying, the city point the finger at the school point saying what they doing better than the city. No, it should be
yeah,
everybody
citizens.
together. We are on one accord because this is all, whether you like it or not, this is all together. Is not gonna work. One can't work without the other.
Right, right. I just want to make
Because
sure. I just want to make sure my words are clear. Uh,
because if you
I
can't
just,
educate your kids, you'll never have a good. The economics will never change
oh
if
yeah,
people
yeah,
aren't getting the proper education.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
you want a better city, you want a better education system. It's two and two. And then parents and citizens. You want changes. You have to pay attention. You have to be in city council meetings. You should never have to know when things are. Especially if you got a kid, you should never have to ask when the school board meeting is, because your kid is in there, and that's important. That's just as important as your everyday life. So everybody has to be involved. That's my take on it. I don't see any other way of anything ever changing in this area. And the beauty of it is this area is a place that can change rapidly, because
Yeah,
it's a small community and it's a great likeness. Like everybody looks the same pretty much.
right, right.
So we we all can come together and make this happen easily.
Oh yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
crazy that it hasn't happened. So it hasn't happened.
No, absolutely. When you get a little bit older, right, and you start being more into politics, right, you'll learn that a lot of these people that are in these positions don't really mean us any good, right? They don't really have our best interests at heart. A lot of times you'll see a lot with money. But I was wanting to know, right? Did you understand? Let me see. Do you know who actually what how does hold on for a second. My bad on that. Apologize on that. Now, I was wanting to know, did you know where all of this originally started from? This letter. Do you know the situation that really brought all of this on?
No, I'm not sure of the situation. I thought I would assume it was, a influx of fights. And I got siblings that's in the school district that's enrolled in schools here, and they say, hey, they got Instagram, and I seen the social media comments, so it all makes sense. They have Instagram pages of the fights and Snapchat pages of the fights that's going on in the schools.
Right.
That's a part of keeping up with the, and
Right.
like you said, having it, that's keeping up with technology so we can address these issues and knowing how social media plays a role, because that's a new thing. Like,
Yeah, it
and
is.
that's unfortunate if you can't get the newer, younger talent in in the school system to be educators to know how that stuff is working. And that's unfortunate that we might not have enough young people uh, employed with PAISD to say, hey, this is how social media works and this is how we can use it to make changes, just be entrepreneurs in the sense of addressing issues, being creative and finding resolves, because I'm sure it
Right.
was an influx of fights that brought on this situation, that the violence probably
Right.
increased and just coming back and seeing all these fights. We haven't dealt with fights because kids wasn't even in school, so now we relearning the system just as much they are.
Now, this is the research that I have right where all this started from. BISD, right? Beaumont, particularly Westbrook. All this little article was in the Examiner, right? And it's also on my page. I put it on my page also, some of the newspaper clippings. That they have pretty much like a doggone fight club over there. Westbrook, they've been having a lot of fights over there, right? So, a lot of fights, and I think one of the and as you said, they've been recording these fights, putting them on the internet, kind of making BISD look bad in Westbrook. Now, one of these clips, they knocked down a white principal right at Westbrook. I forgot his name. They knocked him down on the ground. So it's unfortunate, right? But to me, I think all of this came about because that principal looked bad on camera, right? The principal looked bad. He looked like he doesn't have control. The kids are posting this all on the internet, so it's an embarrassment to the school district and the principal, the leader of that. And so I think because this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree on it. You even have to speak on it if you want to, right? I believe because the principal was white and they had some black kids fighting and they knocked them down and it looked like an embarrassment on camera. So now the whole county is going to catch the blowback, the black schools from this, right? Now they're going to have some tougher sentence, tougher rules for everybody. Like that really means what Beaumont and actually Memorial. Now, what's the crazy thing on it is that BISD, they had like a letter that they had out, they put online today, if I'm not mistaken. They put a letter online today, and I seen and they was talking about this bomb. They had the bomb threat, right? They had this bomb threat. They put out some information on it, but the letter was more respectable than the one at PAISD. Since the PAISD is a majority black school, right? Black and brown, minority, but mainly they targeting the black folks. Now they had such a level of disrespect, and I'm sad to say it's like a goddamn ghetto with these administration officials, the superintendent, and the board members, because I think we get treated like the goddamn, we get treated disrespectfully because we black, and where the incidents, all that stuff happened, they didn't talk to them like the language that they talked to us. So I didn't know if you kind of noticed that or not, but that's just kind of something that I thought on that, that I just kind of wanted to put out there. But is there anything?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure. It's what I'm saying is, you see it happen in BISD and PAISD. These fights are happening, and these pages are popping up. Yeah, just to let you know that this is probably, it's not even. I wouldn't even make it a race thing as far as that happening or what kids are doing. I think it's a national thing, and Like I
Right.
said earlier, you talk to any district in America right now, they're probably telling you that the kids aren't, they're not, the social skills aren't there, and this aggression is everywhere. Kids are all over the country, or school districts are fighting that battle. How to address fights, how to stop kids from being violent towards each other.
Now, right now,
And like you said,
now the reason why I say this because I do know that even though it's happening nationally, you only see one group of people being, you get talked to a certain way. Now, whenever you have a non-black kid shoot up a school and everything and have everybody running, you never really, excuse me. I personally haven't heard the tone of a principal from one of those schools getting shot up as being like that. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to put it out there. You didn't have to really answer or not. But I appreciate everything you've given us. I'm gonna go ahead and let you have the closing word. If you have any final thoughts on how to do this, please give it to us, brother.
my final thoughts would be, if we want to find a solution, we have to come together to find it. It can't be any finger pointing, can't be the school, it can't be the school fault, can't be the parents' fault, can't be the kids' fault. It has to be all of our responsibility, and that's what I would say.
Hey, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for everything. Peace.
All right.
Okay, caller, what's your name, caller?
Yari Cardenas.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself for the people that's not familiar with you and the type of work that you do in the school?
Well, I'm a parent of 5 children. Two of my kids have already graduated. My third child's about to graduate, and I've been volunteering at the school since they were in elementary school.
Oh,
And I've volunteered in PTA, parent engagement. I participate in different forums as a parent volunteer. I work with the band uh, in the as a parent volunteer with the band booster. So I've been with the school district for many years already as a parent and as a volunteer.
okay, good, good, good. Yes, ma'am. And the reason why we have you over here is because there's a lot of noise going online about this new fighting policy that the school district has. Can you go ahead and give your opinion on it? I'm gonna be asking some different questions throughout this interview. Give us your opinion on how you feel about it. You like it? Don't like it? It's a problem? Go ahead.
I think I think I don't like the statement that was put out because I felt that it was bluntly and unprofessional written, and I felt that it did not come directly from the superintendent, which if it was a letter, not a flyer or like a media post. For more, it was like a letter than that, and I felt if it was a letter, it should have come from the superintendent. However, I know that this is not something that I'm used to seeing from the school district. So I find it odd, and I find it disturbing personally.
Right, yeah, I think it is disturbing. They used a lot of harsh tone in that letter, man. It was really disturbing how they were just like, you can hear them finger pointing at the parents, finger pointing at the kids, control your kids. I mean, it was just terrible. I mean, I don't know who in the hell then wrote off on it, but the person that wrote it and the person that signed off on it should be fired. But
I feel it had like a threatening tone for parents.
exactly, that didn't make any
Because
sense.
when you read it and you say like when you teach your children to defend themselves, and they talk, this is your right, but it may result in criminal charges or a fine.
But
But
yeah,
they tell you,
yeah,
they're
that's
telling you,
a
it's
good
a
point to start on that. Let's get into that. Is it, can the school district do that? I mean, it's crazy. It doesn't seem like, well, to me, it seems like they're lazy. It seems like they're lazy. They don't want to do the work, and they're going to just go ahead and say, instead of finding out who is at fault and punishing the person accordingly that's at fault, because you do want to punish the person that started the fight, they just want to say, the hell with it, we charging both of y'all, and go ahead on. Go ahead, what's your feeling?
Yeah, that's what that's one of the things that is disturbing because you know it's up to you. They're saying it's up to you as a parent and it's up to you as your child whether we're going to be pressing charges. It says the district may press charges, but it's up to you or your child if they decide to defend themselves. So we're gonna press charges if if your child decides to fight back to defend themselves. So
Eh,
this is it's got that we may, but at the same time we are going to because it's up to your child decision, which is disturbing that you have children that are bully at school, and sometimes they stand up because they have no choice. Their voices haven't been heard. They haven't been helped. They continue to be bullied at school. Sometimes the student who is bullied is the one that faces the consequences, and I can speak from my experience. Sometimes we make choices at school that are not good because as a parent, I remember at one point my son was bullied in elementary.
right.
So when I went and spoke to the teacher decided to move my son to another chair, to another spot in the classroom. So I felt that my son was being punished for speaking up
Yeah,
and
right.
only stay on the same spot. When I think the proper thing was to move the other student from his spot. So sometimes we send the wrong message. We have to look at what we do as administrators, as teachers, as parents. Everybody has to sit down and look what actions we take, how we respond to these actions that this continue to manifest at an older age in middle school and high school, and it gets worse. But we have to go back and look at the root of the problem where it starts. And in this case, I can give you that example that I thought that was the wrong approach because my child spoke up against this student who was bullying him in class. And he was, so a child is going to see it like they move, like they're punishing me, for speaking up
Right.
because they're taking action against me, not against the bully.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
what a child is gonna say. So we have to look at the different approaches that we take when we deal with situations at an early stage, so we can prevent these actions at an older age. So I think for the school district to say, you know, that they don't have the time or energy, that is also very troubling,
Right.
because uh, they don't have the time and energy. Well, maybe if they took the time and energy to sit down with parents, to bring parents to the table, to see what can we do as a community, what can we do um, to help alleviate these problems that are affecting our kids in high school. So I think we can do better, and we're not. And I think before this letter was released, we could have done something where we could have sat down, invite parents, invite students, invite teachers, because that's another important element of this situation. I know that some teachers also feel threatened because some teachers are disrespected on a daily basis in the classroom.
Right.
They're threatened, they're probably attacked as well. So it's not just about kids fighting with kids. There's been some situations where we could have kids, threatening adults or staff at school. So it's a very serious and delicate situation. And for the school district to take this stand, this is nothing new, but they could have released a statement or they could have done a differently. It was just overwhelming, and I feel that um, they haven't taken they said they've done everything. That I've read another statement from the media person who wrote this statement, where they said they already tried this, they tried restorative this and that. I mean,
Right. Where at? Where have you seen it? And let me
uh,
let me go ahead and ask you this. Right now, for my research, I believe that all of this started because Beaumont having their they had some kind of fight club going on in Beaumont. They have a problem with people fighting the past 2 weeks, a rash of experiences. And I even think of one of the principals got knocked down. Right, I read that in the Examiner newspaper. Right? I think I still have the copy in the truck somewhere, but they have some kind of fight club where somebody been taking those fights, putting it all online, and kind of pretty much embarrass Westbrook and BISD, right? So I think is whenever black or minority kids do something, that instead of just dealing with the actual school that has the problem, it goes through a whole scorched earth process where they want to discipline all the black and or minority kids with some type of policy, when from my understanding, um, Memorial kids didn't really have anything to do, didn't have a real problem that caused that, from my understanding. And it seems like when they do this with black minority kids, they're black and brown, they'll kind of use this strong arm of the law type of fist disciplinary. What's your opinion on where this come from? Do you think that PISD really needs this, or you think that just a reaction would happen to Beaumont? What's your opinion on that?
I strongly feel it was a reaction to what happened in Bowman, because I follow Bowman ISD on social medias, and I
Okay.
know that around October 14 they released like a statement, like a flyer.
Right.
But I found it very professionally done, where it says this is what the school district is doing, this is what we would like the parents to do, and this is what can happen. But it didn't have the tone that this letter, because this is more like a letter, and this was sent to parents at home. It wasn't just posted on social media. So, and it's like signed, but it's not signed. But it says educationally yours. So when it
Right.
says educationally yours at the bottom, it does have like a salutation, and at the end, it's got that, where basically it's like a letter, which I found it's a difference between a letter and just like a general like flyer, where BISD did it more professionally. Um, and I find it that it just I find it very odd that it comes up at the same time, even though the school district might have been experiencing an increase in fights as well. We probably haven't seen it on social media like
Right.
BIC was. I believe they had this social media stuff going on, and and but this is something that I also think that that it was in response to, hey, BISD, okay, we need to do one, but but I think it was wrongly and poorly done.
Yeah, it's like we over here, brother. We get the ghetto stuff. We get the ghetto
So
teachers, the ghetto superintendents. We have this whole crazy letter written poorly, ghetto
what
trash. They send it to us like the parents trash, threatening the trash. Do you
I
think?
just don't want
What?
I don't want to call them that, or I
Well,
don't
I
want to,
am. I am.
but I want to make sure that I'm not going to say it as far, because even though I strongly disagree with the approach and how the letter was written, I will not go as far, because I've seen some good things, but um, it's not what it starts at home, and that's right. What you teach your kids at home is going to help them at school, and it's not like I always went by the principle of what you teach your children is is what's going to set that foundation. So they can go and through, and it affects them when they don't have teachers, when they don't have the support. But I think that's a different uh subject, like another point of let's look at what the school district is, what they do, what they but this is sad. It's sad that it was you know given out to parents like that, and like I said, I find it threatening more than anything.
Okay, so
So
what do you think that the district should do in case if they have fights like this? The district is saying, "Hey, look, we can't. Look, it's the parents' fault. We trying to get the lessons done. Your kids keep fighting. That's why we can't get nothing done. That's why the test scores are poor. Parents, you need to go ahead and take control of your kids. We can't take control of them. We not your parents." What is your
well,
response whenever the school says something like that?
I think it's very sad that some parents are are they you got to look at the root of the problem. And you may think that some of these kids who fight and have these disruptive behaviors come from broken down homes. Some of them are not. I've known that some kids that have very bad behavior, and they come from the most
Oh, absolutely,
nicest homes, like, yeah, privileged families.
privileged families,
So
good families,
so
families of the
so
doggone school district people.
so it's not so let's not put it just on those parents that may not be doing enough for the children at home, because we also have parents that are single parents, and those parents have a job, and they work all day, and sometimes they don't have the time to sit down with the children, to talk to the children, to see what's going on. So sometimes it's I've met a couple of parents that are single parents, and they've really their schedule is not like they can actually have time to go to parent conferences, or maybe they're too tired to do work with their child, or um, they don't have time, or they put it off, or they don't talk on a daily basis with the child, so they don't know what's going on with them. So sometimes they can come from the wealthiest families, well, accommodated families, but they so it's
Yeah,
different factors in that community. That But I think that the school district needs to revisit and go back to the root of the problem. Like I mentioned before, when my son was bullied in elementary, that bully got away with it and was told it was okay for him to continue that behavior because he was basically not punished. The one that was punished was my son, because he was moved, to another spot in the classroom.
right,
So,
absolutely. And I think
so,
that
so we got to go back and look at how we deal with situations at an earlier age. We got to go back and focus in middle school, because I think one of our biggest problems is that we're not doing enough for our children in middle school. And as a result, we've seen Thomas Jefferson Middle School, who had a failing grade about 3 years ago, before the pandemic, had a failing grade, had some of the worst statistic numbers, and it's one of the largest campuses. It's more than Lincoln Middle School. So I did attend one meeting with which dealt with parent engagement and situations with students. And I remember I brought up the point that we're losing our children in middle school, and we need to go back and focus. We need to go back to the table and focus. What more can we do for these children in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade?
right.
Because that's where we're losing them. And I said we have this we make the mistake that we think everything starts in high school.
Right.
In high school, everything. So I pointed out they have the ninth grade center, which is the school. It's a separate school, the ninth grade center for all ninth graders.
Mhm.
So their motto is, it all starts at the ninth. So they believe that everything starts at the ninth, because they go, because 9, 10, 11, 12, your classes for college, you know but I felt that that was the wrong message to send out. When
Right.
it all starts at the ninth grade, and I said that, and I believe that's still the motto, and I feel it does not start at the ninth grade center. I said that, and I said we need to go back to middle school,
Okay.
because that's where we're losing our children. And I spoken to teachers that, when I was running for school board, I spoke to some teachers, and they said, well, it's sad because I'm an elementary teacher, and I seen these really nicest kids, nicest students, more polite students. And then when I see them in middle school, they different. They're not the same student I had in first grade. They're
Right.
not the same student I had in fourth grade. So I can tell you by experience that we're losing our kids in middle school, not in high school.
Right.
And we need to catch them in middle school. And I think that's what we need to do. I've seen the school district try to make some modifications. They have a new principal at Thomas Jefferson. But hey, that principal doesn't have a magic wand. She's not going to do it on her own. She needs parent volunteers. She needs community members. She needs more support. She needs more teachers. She needs more resources to help the school, to help those students. So I think that's what we need to do. And I think that's, you have parents that want to volunteer,
Yeah.
but sadly, that's another thing. You know, it's like parents have to beg sometimes
Right.
to
Yeah.
volunteers. And it's like, you know, it's like, hello, I want to volunteer,
Per-
but it's so hard right now. It's so hard right now because you don't know. You go to the school, and you just got to stand outside the door. You can't even go inside.
Oh, right, right. So it's like you want to, for first they tell you to go volunteer. Then when you try to go volunteer, you have to stand through do all kind of gymnastic tricks and,
Well,
different type of things to get in over there, right? Just like you said, you have to beg, and then got to wait outside or somebody come see you. It makes it too hard. Is that what you're saying?
well, basically, I'm saying that, but at the same time, it's just a culture that we have at our schools, that we don't receive all parent volunteers well. So we push with the schools tend to push some volunteers away,
Okay.
because sometimes, how do you push parents volunteer away? Because you don't treat them well, you don't respect them. Sometimes you treat them like thieves, basically. And I can tell by my own experience, that there's been times when I've been mistreated, and I've been to a lot of meetings. I volunteer here, I chaperone here, I donated this, I donated a lot of my time, I've done this and that. And sometimes they don't perceive parents, or they sometimes parents want to do or have suggestions, and it's like you have to meet the parents halfway. Sometimes you can't just bluntly say we cannot do it, or we can do something. Okay, this is the reason we cannot do it, but we can do it this other way. We gotta change that culture, how we treat our parents, how we welcome our parents. Because we might say we welcome parents, we welcome volunteers, but when the parent comes to the school, you push them away, and you push every single idea that they have. You don't want that idea. Oh no, we're gonna do it our way. So
Right.
sometimes you cannot do it your way all the time. You have to give some, you know, to the parents, and you have to treat your parents with respect. You have to treat your parents with, make them feel they're welcome, that they're part of this educational process. And sometimes I felt that that's not being done. And like I said, Sometimes we just say we can sit there and complain. We say, oh, we don't have parents volunteers. The reason why we don't have parents volunteer, another reason why, because the few parents that go volunteer, you don't treat them right.
Yeah, treat them like trash. Yeah.
you know yeah, so right now, for example, yes, we have this thing with COVID, with the virus. So no parents are basically allowed to go inside, even if you have a child in that school.
Right.
You can't go inside, you have to stand outside, and they have to come outside, they have to do it through the intercom, they ask you what you want, what you need, and so you can't even go inside the school.
So pretty
Mhm.
much the school is
You know,
like a correctional facility, right?
right now I feel like, why can't we just, if I want to go sit down, or if I'm coming to speak with the attendance clerk, or I want to bring I can't even go into the main office, because of the virus.
Wow.
So uh, they say, yeah, you have to fill out a form to be, there's a process too. You have to fill out a form where they do check your background, and that's a good process, because you want, whoever's working with the children, who's
Oh yeah, right.
volunteer, you want them to have the background check, because you never know. So you want that procedure.
Right,
So
right.
you have to do that, and yeah, you do that, you go through all that, and then you volunteer. But right now I feel there's not a clear process because of the virus, that you could basically go stand outside. So you're kind of thinking, yeah, they have a PTA meeting, or they had this. Uh, so, but at the same time, how are you going to volunteer if it's just different right now.
Right.
I think it makes it more harder. But at the same time, if you know you have this parent that has volunteered before, why haven't you called the parents?
Right. Let me go
You know
ahead and
what?
go on this way. Let me go ahead and ask this question. Right. I noticed the school district, they like to blame the parents a lot, or they like to blame something else. I remember for the for like the fights. Like right now, they blaming the parents for the fights. Right. Before the test scores, they had a video with Frank and Boy T blaming Spanish as a second language student. They was blaming them for doggone test scores when that didn't make no sense. But with this history of the school district blaming everybody else for things that's going on within the school, now I noticed that. Oh yeah, they blame a lot of things for being poor. They blamed a lot of poverty. This school has a lot of kids in poverty, parents in poverty, everybody just in poverty, right? But from what I see, we have some of the best pep rallies. We have some of the best games. We have some of the best band performance. We don't act like we a poor school district until we start talking about education. Now we were getting like a $400 million bond to build a new school, new this and that. I think we even paved the track. Now I think the track is right now has been paved or getting paved
In
red, if I'm not mistaken.
in Lincoln, I think it's about to be finished, or was just finished at Lincoln.
Right. So we have all of this money to do everything that we want to do, but for some reason, when it comes to education, everybody is poor. We can't do it. It's always a problem. So I'm like, we need to, if that's the case, we need to act like we poor. You know what I'm saying? We need to start dealing with some of the basic foundations as far as like educating with the students. Now, what's your opinion on that? Do you think that the district kind of does a lot to blame and doesn't have a lot of accountability within itself? You know,
I, I I do think, yes, we need to have more accountability and
when you
less.
say we, parents or the school district.
I think it's more right now the school district, because we already know we have some issues with parents,
Right.
right? But
And it's nothing
we,
new. We've been having it for
yeah,
years. Issues
yeah,
with parents for years.
yes. But we have to look at what the school district is doing, how they're dealing with it. For example, I can give you an example of the middle schools.
Right.
The middle schools, I was thinking, how it must be exhausting for a child to start school like 20 minutes before 9 o'clock in the morning, and they get out of school at 4 o'clock. Middle schoolers have, they're the ones that get out of school at a later time than anybody. Ninth grade center, releases earlier, around 3 o'clock. The high school the same. Elementary students release at 3, around the same time. But middle schoolers, they go at a later time and they release at a later time. I feel that that is too much for a middle schooler. I think they need to, um, mentally, I think that is exhausting for a
Right.
child.
I remember
So
seeing something that, the kids, their attention span is only a certain amount of hours during the day, and I'm right. And I do believe it should be like a little bit less. I don't know the exact hours that they go to school now or how we used to go back then, but I do understand. I believe reading some studies or seeing something that the students shouldn't, you shouldn't have a whole full day like we do it. You probably do better shorten it up, kind of let the kids' minds kind of decompress from all that cramming that they're doing.
yes, and then I think as a school district, they need to stop putting the blame elsewhere and start looking inside and see what we can do, how we can work together. And I think
Now,
they need to start implementing changes. They need to stop blaming this or that, and and those and let's, okay, what can we do? Let's sit down. Let's bring this group of people together. Before this letter was released, they maybe, okay, we've seen an increased number in fights or problem behavior at school. Okay, let's sit down. Let's call some of the parents. Let's sit down. Let's some people from our community, uh, et cetera, et cetera, and let's see what can we do, or what is what how we can help our kids. Instead of just saying we're tired, and we don't have the time. I mean, we don't have the time. You get paid. You don't do it for free. You get all this money.
right,
You know.
right. And another
So
and another thing, when they say that everything is on you, the parents, this parent, okay, well if that's the case, you need to give me some of this school district money so we can kind of share the money if you want to share the job, right? Right.
well, the thing is that do you have to understand that there's also parents that they just don't know what to do with their child, that they have this disruptive behavior. I've met some parents that it's just like they cry, they don't know what to do, they're desperate, they're looking for a behavioral counselor, they're looking for some resources because they want to help the child, they don't know how to do it, they're just it's the child's become too much for them. And so how do we help that parent? How do we come together? What resources can we get to these parents? How we let them know, or what can we do, you know, as a district? Let's go back and look. Like I said, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the middle school got a failing grade. Those students that were in middle school 3 years ago are in high school right now. So maybe
Right.
that's a reflection of what they received in middle school. So you're seeing those students that were in middle school in a failing school 3 years ago, you're seeing them at the high school right now. So let's go back and focus on our children in middle school. I think elementary schools are doing good. They have a good system.
Who is that have a
There's
good system?
I'm gonna say a system where teachers work more one-on-one with the
Right, right.
students.
You're talking about what school is that? I was trying to say what school is that?
I'm talking about all the different elementary schools.
Oh, the
Most
elementary
of
school. Oh, the elementary
the
schools has a good
yeah,
system. Okay, that's good. I'm
that
glad to hear
elementary
that.
because there's a few things, like I said, that they have to change. Where like like the situation that happened to my son, where he
Right.
was moved. There's minor things that they have to change, but overall, they're
Policy
doing
stuff.
good. Yeah, they're doing good. They communicate well with their parents. But like I said, once those students reach middle school, it's basically the parents. They think that's one of the worst mistakes too on the parents, that they think, oh, my child is in middle school now, so they need more independence. They leave them alone. But I think
Right.
that's when you have to, as parent, you have to pay more attention, more closely, monitor your children in middle school because they're going through these stages, puberty and everything. They're emotional. So we need to pay more attention because that's when the child is transitioning into a teenager. And then, I think what happens in those years are crucial to the behavior that the students um, reflect when they're in high school. So I think the school district needs to stop this blame the
Right.
parents, because you have good parents.
Yeah,
You
absolutely. And that's not the representation of all students, right? They always try to say that the poor academics is because everybody's on poverty, or everybody has a problem with violence, and everybody's bad because everybody got bad parents. No, that's a small representation of what's out there, right? You have everybody else. Now you can't blame the whole thing for a small, 5-10% of the students, right? You know, so um, go
so yeah, ultimately the parents is not the one that sends their child at school at 9 and picks them up at 4.
right,
I'm not the one that set that schedule. The school district set that schedule.
right,
So maybe, they need to look at some of the things that they have in place. Now, I have a child right now in middle school, and it's been very hard, after COVID, because he basically from 5th grade, he came to 7th grade, because he did the 1 year virtually, and even if he had gone to school in person, it was very hard. It was different. It was stressful. It was unexpected. It was just different. It wasn't the same. um so now when you have that, and you need to, i, I mean, I concerned about my child. So I
yeah, yeah,
he
no
had
problem,
so for example, I he wanted to take a class. So you have to take different classes, electives. But when you choose electives, there's not a lot of electives. So a lot of kids want to take art. So my son want to take this art elective. And I called the counselor, and the counselor said, there's so many kids wanting to take art. We requested that we add another teacher for art because a very popular course, and it's not available because it just feels so fast and it's just in high demand. It's like all the kids want to take art. And then the other options were just, there's not a lot of options. It's either art, drama, choir, band, or PE. It's not a lot of them. So you have to find, if art is working and kids want to take that class, add that other teacher. If you don't have a teacher, you have substitute teachers, because they've added substitute teachers for any other classes.
right,
Why don't we, they like this class, let's make it fun for the students. But when the students feel like, they're forced to take classes they don't like, that
right, yeah,
they're boring. I mean, think about it. So yeah, it feels more like a punishment. It feels it's not something that they enjoy. So we have to change. We have to make more resources available for our middle schoolers.
right. I
We
think
have to, that's what we have to do. But as parent, I cannot do that.
right,
I cannot do that.
right.
So
I think that they can at least start off right. Have a list with the things that the parents need to do, and they have to admit, hey, we have a factual list of the things that we need to do as a school district. I say once they start like that, and if they're honest to say that, and I think they will have a lot better way of getting going. And I'm gonna go ahead and give you the last word on this. Give me the last word, and I'm going to go have to go ahead and take some other calls.
yes, my last word is, I as a parent, I've seen it. My kids have been bullied. As a matter of fact, one of my child was threatened, you
Wow.
know, to be in that they were gonna fight him. And and it was a big problem because I had to go to the school and sit down with the and let them know that my child was threatened. And to make matters worse, my daughter said, hey, if he does it in front of me, I'm a jump in. I'm not gonna let that guy beat my brother up. So I was
Right.
like, oh my god. So if you think I haven't gone through, yeah, my kids are good, but sometimes, they're in a position where they gonna act, you know and so I did everything. I went to school, the school took care of it, and yes, they did talk to the student because the student was 19. He was about to graduate high school,
Wow.
or 20, and was physically threatening my son. So I think they sat down with him. So this is not nothing new. What I think happened is that they told me they were going to sit down with him and talk to him, right? Because this is not something new, whether you want to press charges. Had he attacked my son, which he was 17, he you know they would have given me the option to press charges on that student.
Hmm.
So this is not something new, and I think it's been done before, but I felt that for them to put it bluntly like they did is wrong. For them to just basically say every fight, this is like an every fight thing that
Right.
happens. So I don't think this is gonna work for every fight. My son's friend, my friend's son was beaten in school. They called him to the office. It's another example I can give you. They asked him if he wanted to press charges. His son said no, because that was his friend that he got into a fight with, and he decided he wasn't gonna hit him back, but he hit him. So they asked him if he wanted to press charges. He said no. Had he said yes, that other student would have received criminal charges, right?
Right.
And later, they back their friends. Right now, they're friends. They talk to each other and everything. So sometimes, we want to take drastic measures, but sometimes kids do get into fights. They do get into arguments, and the next week, the next month, they're friends again. So sometimes we gotta learn, you know, from our children too.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That that
That's
that that's not always right. That now there are cases where it goes beyond, where it's very bad, where they may have to, press charges, and they already do. So I felt that there was no need for this letter
yeah.
like
This
this.
this
Yeah.
reprimand letter, and that was a
So,
good point that you brought up. That these kids sometimes they'll fight, and the next thing you know they'll be friends again. So some of these instances that don't be that bad, but then on the flip side, a lot of them they do turn real horrible. So
yeah. So when I feel that when it's appropriate for what they've done, not just because they fight, because I think there's always going to be fights. We always have fights. But yes, when it becomes like where it's very bad, like, I cannot even imagine because I haven't been there.
right,
But that I would think there's some instances where it's, I'm sorry, but you need to press charges.
yes, ma'am.
You know?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, I do know, and I do appreciate everything that you gave for us, and do appreciate you giving us a call, ma'am.
Well, thank you for taking my call. And
No,
but I hope that every parent, I want to, if you're a parent and you're listening out there, please volunteer, talk to your children every day, ask them what's going on in school, go to the school. I know right now you just be outside, but hey, they've had some Zoom meetings. Get on those meetings. Let them know that you care for your child and that you are there to work with the school too.
thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, go ahead, caller. What's your name?
Hey, my name is Tim Hampton, calling from sunny Tampa, Florida.
Okay, brother, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, okay, like I said, my name is Tim Hampton. And I was born and raised in Port Arthur. Graduated from the mighty Beehive, Lincoln High School,
Yes, sir.
class of 1992. And shortly thereafter, took a job in the prison system where I worked for many, many years in a bunch of capacities. And in 2003, I decided to leave home and I relocated to Tampa, Florida.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. What seems to the main issue we talking about today is due to some either fights in PISD and or some fights over in Beaumont ISD. What Port Arthur ISD is doing now, having like a no zero tolerance policy, right? Zero
Right.
tolerance policy, and for fighting. But hell, you never know. There could be anything. You know, when they say zero tolerance, is zero tolerance. And I think what they said that is that whenever if it's for fighting or something like that, they deem the zero tolerance is that they're going to give you to be going send a ticket, and you probably get something like a disorderly conduct charge. From your opinion, can you go ahead and give me some what you believe is some of your opinions on your feelings about this zero tolerance policy in the schools and how it'll probably affect our children,
Well, it
kids?
started with me about a week and a half ago when I first saw this letter making its rounds on social media. At first, I actually thought it was a hoax. I thought it was
Right.
maybe somebody playing a joke or something. And I realized, no, this was really serious.
For real.
And so it tugged at me, had me feeling some type of way for two reasons. The main reason is that, like I stated, and when shortly after I graduated high school, I immediately went into my career field in the criminal justice system. Basically, to sum it up, I went to work at the Mark Stiles prison at a very young age and saw a lot of things. How people get caught up, how people end up there, how they're groomed, the seeds that were planted in them, and what have you. I quickly learned about that, and it was very disheartening and discouraging to see. And the second reason is because on the flip side of it, I was reading in the letter that, from my understanding, a kid can be defending themselves, not involved in a fist fight, not what we call a fray, which means a mutual fight, but a kid cannot want to fight or simply be defending themselves, but yet can still be brought up on charges. Now, the reason why that affected me and struck a nerve with me is, I'm not going to take too much of your time, but let me tell you about a situation that not a lot of people know about, Tim Hampton.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Take as much time as you need.
in in 1998, I believe it was, I stopped at M&M grocery store over there on Memorial Boulevard. And there was a guy there. I had never seen him before in my life. I think he was probably from a neighboring city or something, who knows. But he was very much intoxicated and he just started talking trash on me for no reason. So I did what any, logical, reasonable adult would do. I just tried to ignore him.
Right.
And I went into the store and bought my items and I came back. And to my surprise, he still was, sitting there just calling me out of my name. And I told him, I say, man, you must have me mistaken for somebody else. And he was like, no, I'm talking to you, blah, blah, blah. But he couldn't say my name, right?
Right.
So lo and behold, this guy charged me. So he gave me no reason but to defend myself. I did not want confrontation with this guy or anything. Well, when he did that, I had no choice but to defend myself. Well, the police were already in the vicinity. They saw us fighting and they put us both in handcuffs. Well, I didn't say anything. This guy was drunk. He was belligerent. He mouthed off with the police officers. But at that point, they still didn't care. So I was brought to jail. I was booked in. I was had my picture taken, my fingerprints, and all that good old stuff. Things that I found very, very embarrassing. Well, after the the officers were interviewing the other guy, he came to and he said, man, I'm sorry. I attacked that guy for no reason. I was wrong, yada, yada, yada. So I was let go. But lo and behold, because I had my fingerprints taken and because I was charged with initially with assault, misdemeanor assault, mind you, um, I thought, okay, I get on with my life. Thank God I don't have a record, because I work in the prison system, and that's that. Well, to my surprise, about 5 years later, I decided to relocate for a short time to Houston and pick up a part-time job. Well, when that part-time job ran my background, they turned me down and said, "Mr. Hampton, we can't hire you because you have a record." And I said, "No, there must be some type of mistake. I don't
Right.
have a record. I've never been in trouble a day in my life." And they said, "Yeah, you were charged with misdemeanor assault." And I said, "No way." So I immediately called the Jefferson County Courthouse and got what they call the disposition of the court, which clearly states I was charged with misdemeanor assault, but it was dismissed because the complaining witness stated that he didn't want to file charges. Basically, he admitted that he started it, that I was simply defending myself. Okay. When I brought the disposition back to my employer who had already denied me
Right.
employment, they basically told me, "Well, it's too late. We're sorry." So I kept that paper just for moving forward, just for general purposes.
Absolutely.
Well, in 2003, when I decided, I saw some things coming down the pipeline um, in my respective city. I said, it's time to get away from here. So, sunny Tampa, Florida is what I picked to make my home. So I applied for several jobs in Tampa. I got hired. And surprisingly, when I was en route, when I was on the highway, I had left everything, packed up everything. I'm halfway to Florida, and my new employer say, "Hey, we can't hire you because you have a record."
Wow.
I said, "No, no, no. This came up before. I was charged, but I was simply defending myself." And Mr. David, I think I actually sent you a copy of that deposition, and you'll feel free to share it with anybody who wants to see it. Yes, it's embarrassing to me, but people need to see what I go through, and I'll tell you why shortly. Well,
Right.
I'm gonna fast forward. I'm not gonna nitpick and describe every single situation, but it came to different places that I chose to live in different apartments. They would potentially turn me down. And when somebody meets you, and the one of the first things, they'll like your presence, they like your introduction, and then when they go do the background, something comes up. None of that other stuff matter. Your
Yeah.
introduction doesn't matter. Your credentials doesn't matter. What people say good things about you, that doesn't matter.
Right.
All they see is this person was arrested. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I've been having to deal with for year and year. Now here's the main thing that hurt me. um, when I decided to become a nurse, I went to a local nursing school in Tampa, did my application, and guess what they say?
Wow. What they say?
You guessed it. You guessed it.
Got a
Mr.
record.
Hampton, we're sorry. You have a record. We can't allow you in nursing school. So I had to give them a copy of the disposition. I had to write a letter explaining myself, and they
Right.
had to review it with a committee, and then they allowed me in. When I decided to move back to Texas in 2016, I worked for the University of Texas for a while. Same thing. Then I decided, well, I want to attend medical school. So in 2020, I came back to Tampa to attend a medical school, had to do it again. This follows me. It's been 22 years, and I have to explain every single time why I was arrested. Now, going back to the letter and the report out the school district, this hurts me. It hurts my feelings. It hurts my heart because you know what? All those kids, not the ones who are causing trouble, because I
Yeah.
do
Absolutely.
understand that there are going to be some agitators and some aggressors, but those ones who are like me, the voiceless, you know, they are going to hurt. They are potentially going to suffer years to come, and they may not have that tenacity or that strength or that willpower to stand up for themselves and say, "Hey, no, I was not an aggressor. I was defending myself, and here's my paperwork." Not a lot of people gonna have that energy to do that, sir. And I fear
Right.
that should they get caught up in a situation, at the school where they're defending themselves, then the Port Arthur Independent School District and already stated their position. They said, we're going to call the cops on you. You can ball up in a fetal position and take all the licks and not throw one single lick, but guess what? You get in charge. Well, what I see in that situation is that kid is going to have to go through life just like I did, and that is totally not fair.
Wow, man. I appreciate you for sharing that story with us, because that totally revolves around everything we're talking about over here, right? Because in that
Right.
letter, they're threatening to give kids a Class C misdemeanor, disorderly conduct, right? Initially, they saying for fighting, but disorderly conduct means anything. So, right? They're telling you
Right.
that you're going to get a disorderly conduct for fighting, and that charge is not only for fighting. You may have some disruption to class, or you may, be arguing. They may be arguing with somebody. Somebody may bump you in the back where you kind of give an outburst in the classroom. You know what I mean? And then if a teacher, you have one of these teachers that don't really care about the kids, right? They'll just send
Right.
you on to the office, and they're going to, just kind of write it up, and hell, you might get charged with disorderly conduct, because disorderly conduct is a wide charge, right? It's a charge that it can entails a lot of things, and a lot of people needs to consider that, right? And
Exactly.
and with that, it brings getting these charges. It starts. I mean, it starts kids down the school or prison pipeline. That everybody hears so much about, because whenever you have a lot of issues, getting kicked out, getting expelled. I mean, you're young and you're going through depression. I mean, a lot of people don't understand these are minors. We have everybody
Exactly.
want to try to rule like an iron fist. Hey, we need to teach them. We need to teach you to go ahead and act right in school. But you got to understand, a lot of times these are the first places where they deal with a lot of people. They don't go to work. You know what I mean? They go to school before they go to work. And then you have these kids
Right.
over here dealing with hundreds of people, man. They're learning this stuff.
It's definitely the prison mentality. Their position, the school district was what I'm making reference to. They are taking the position as the prison guard or the prison system, the criminal justice system.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I say that is because me as a young correctional officer, yes, we wanted to discourage fighting within prison. And so our upper level officials said, hey, inmate, if you get into a fight, you go into solitary confinement. And we prison guards, and I was very young and naive, as was a bunch of us. We were like, yeah, let's go cut down fighting, because in prison you don't want to be breaking up fights.
Yeah.
But
right.
these guys, we said, yep, if you fight, and they would tell us straight up, well, what if I'm just trying to defend myself? Guy trying to take my commissary, guy trying to take my tennis shoes, guy trying to rape me.
Right. Yeah.
What options do I have? And we as prison officials, again, we said if you fight, you go into solitary. Now let me tell you how it had a negative impact on prisoners, because some guy may be in prison because he DUI. Let's just say that pretty much a victimless crime. Okay. And then you send that guy, let's say he get a 5-year sentence, and he's to see parole in 2.5 years. He may have things, he may have his own family, he learned his lesson, what have you. But guess what? Because he went to solitary confinement, the parole board would say, nope, you can't get out of prison. You're going to serve this whole time. And he can say, well, I was defending myself. They don't care. The parole board don't care.
Oh, they absolutely don't care.
As with this disposition that these kids are going to have to start carrying, the details of their arrest will not be on there. It'll simply be their charge, like you said, disorderly conduct, or involved in a fight. They'll probably call it a misdemeanor Class C assault. The details will not be in that. When these kids go to college, try to go to the military, try to get a job, try to get an apartment, in some cases try to get a mortgage, wherever their fingerprints are required, a background check what's going to come up is that they were arrested for this. No details will come up. So guess what? The person in charge, they already got a picture painted, you know? And what's really messed up is guess who helped paint the picture?
There you go, the school district. And to go ahead and pick it back off what you're saying, and go ahead and pick it up you're saying, the prisoner pipeline is also racist. Now this, I'm putting it all together. The zero tolerance policy, right? There are studies on this, man. There's studies on here that this negatively is more biased against black and brown students, right? Black and Hispanic students. So with all of this out here, right, we still have people that want to go ahead and push it. We still have people saying, hey, they need to put them in jail, but they still agree to this, man. They still agree to this. It goes to the prison system pipeline. Not only is the zero tolerance policy racist, you also, and when they get into the prison system, the whole criminal justice system is racist. So this is a very negative effect on here, man. It's a very negative effect and very detrimental to kids. But what even pissed me off on the school district's point, right? They have that they don't have the time. Let me go ahead and read this joker directly. I got the computer right here. They said, we don't have the time or energy to constantly address and redirect poor choices that result in unruly and disruptive behavior. So basically, you're putting all that together, right? They don't have the time or the energy to do the investigation to see if your child is innocent or guilty. Pretty much, if both of them was fighting, both of them going to get a disorderly conduct charge, Class C misdemeanor, and a penalty up to $500. Now, if you don't have the time or the energy, you shouldn't be in the schooling system, man, because for far too long our kids, man, we have an internal hate for our kids, right? We believe our kids are grown. When we talk about that they need to be treated as an adult, they need to be this and that, we're looking at our kids like the police looked at Tamar Rice, right? As not as a child, but as a grown adult, dangerous. And we have to kind of get out of that mentality, right? And we have to preserve the innocence of our youth and our kids. That's the only way we're going to have to do it, man, because kids are naturally aggressive when they're young because they're learning how to deal with all of their emotions. They're learning this. You know, this is new for them. Going to school for 8 hours a day, every day, 5 days a week, dealing with people that they don't know, dealing with teachers telling them something, somebody hollering. And it's just the first time that, you know, they dealing with this on a large scale. Go ahead.
You know what's disheartening when I hear that statement? This is the first time I've heard it, man, and it's just got me thinking, man.
What's that? What statement?
When I hear somebody say in a professional position, now let me get this out, make no mistake. Pretty much everyone in my family has ties to the school district, you know, and let me say the number one person who had the biggest tie to the school district was my own mother, who was the only person in the history of Port Arthur Independent School District to lose her life on the job.
I remember
and to this day, she has not been acknowledged. She's not been memorialized in any type of way. And so I just want to get that. And I'm okay with that.
Right.
At this point, I don't want my mom's name associated with that district, period.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to say that. However, I do have a couple of relatives who work at the school level. I'll say that.
Now you ain't got to put their name out there if it's going to get them in trouble, because you know they like to retaliate.
Well, you know, they could do that if they want, but they have no clue. But I would just say this: I don't want to say hatred because I then got rid of that word out of my vocabulary.
Right.
But it's the school board members for me who, you know, I went to them as a friend a couple of years ago. And they basically shut the door in my face. I never had a conversation with any of them except one. I did, and he lied. He lied straight to my face, and that hurt me bad. That hurt my family bad. The way he lied, And the other ones they pretty much ignored. So I already have a disposition about them. I feel some type of way. But the school teachers, I have a lot of respect. I have classmates and again family members who are on that level. And this is not an indictment against them. This is not to belittle them because they know I love them. And, so I say, and this is what I'm about to say after I just said that. When I hear someone say we don't have the time nor the energy, that tells me you don't want to be in that profession. Because Mr. David, I'm a nurse. If somebody comes into my emergency room complaining of hypertension, high blood pressure, that's like me going into my medicine cabinet, getting them some lisinopril, metoprolol, some blood pressure medication, and say, here, take this, because I don't have the time nor the energy to teach you about your blood pressure. I don't have the time or the energy to tell you to increase your exercise
Right.
or alter your diet. I don't have the time or the energy to say that this is hereditary. I don't have the time or energy to say that if you continue to ignore your blood pressure, you can possibly have a stroke or you can go into renal failure. I don't have the time or the energy. Now, who am I as a nurse if you walk into my emergency room hurting and then I tell you I don't have the time or the energy to do something that I made a commitment not only to myself, but a state agency, a national agency.
Yeah.
I took an oath. I took an oath to deliver something. Now, what in the heck I look like telling somebody I don't have the time or the energy? Let's get away from the nurse, because this is my second career. My first career was a corrections officer.
Right.
I never one day walked into any of those prison institutions and said, I'm just here to count and make sure y'all don't jump over the fence.
Exactly.
That was never my mentality. That's like me walking into prison and say, I don't have the time or the energy to try to rehabilitate you.
Right,
I don't
right,
have
yeah.
the time or the energy to sit you down and talk to you about your behavior, your negative behavior, how you can improve. I don't have the time or the energy to tell you that there are places that will hire you with a felony record. You
Right,
know,
exactly.
anybody and man, look, you got me started, but anybody
Yeah.
in a professional setting, you went to school. Before you went to school, you made it. You made the choice in your heart. This is what I want to do. I want to nurture. I want to nurture people. I want to provide them with a pathway to success. So then, in the same breath, if you say you don't have the time or the energy, hey man, you need to turn in your stuff, man. Straight up.
Oh, right.
If
Absolutely.
you don't have the time or the energy, you need to go find a career that you do have the time and the energy to invest in. Because obviously it's not those kids. Yeah, I know some of those kids are bad as heck. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, I know a lot of their parents do not care. But if
Right.
you call yourself an educator and
There
a
you go.
nurturer, but you're talking about you don't have time or energy, come on, man. What are you really doing there? And then and again, I'm really not gonna place the blame on the teachers. It's on
No.
those people downtown.
Absolutely. And I do want to say they have some good educators. They
Yeah,
have some good
absolutely.
counselors over there. But unfortunately, that's not the norm, right? And that's not the culture of the school district, because the bad apples outweigh the good apples. And then a lot of the bad apples are in the decision-making positions, right? So if even you happen to have good educators and stuff, right? They're just
Right.
there to use their name, to use their popularity, right? That's pretty much the only thing the good educators and the good counselors are there for, to make the bad ones look good, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly.
So, you know,
What I wish could happen with them at that school board level, give teachers more incentives. Give them a raise. You could find the money somewhere. Give them more time off to spend time with their family, because teachers need mental health breaks. They need a couple more give them 5 or 6 mental health days a year. Hire more substitutes. And man, I don't know if you saw it, but did you see this organization where this one father in Shreveport, Louisiana, kids fighting all day in school? And he put together, I forgot the name of his group, Dad's something.
Dad's on
But
duty,
all
if I'm
these
not mistaken. Yes.
Dad's on duty. And guess what? They didn't particularly have kids in that school, but they were just brothers in the community who got together and say, you know what, we going in and we gonna help those school teachers because yeah, these kids bad as heck. And I don't care who you think, man. Listen, the black man is powerful. White men are
Yeah.
powerful too.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, the influence, the culture, everything is the black man. And especially a place like Memorial, the black and the brown man. Now, I thought about that. I say, man, I wonder if they would let some guys, just go to the school and walk the halls and talk to the kids. But the first thing, I know my hometown. I know the mentality of my hometown. And the first thing they going to say is, oh man, this shit, ain't nobody around here going to do that. Ain't nobody going to do that. Yes, somebody will. All it takes is about 4 or 5. Exactly. I hadn't been there in almost 20 years, so I'm gonna take your word for it. A lot of people will do it. Well, go out there and get them brothers and let them spend some time in that hallway. But you know what? It's not gonna happen. You know why? I'm not gonna say why, but I know why. It just won't happen. But try stuff. Don't be so closed-minded.
Right. Let me go ahead and interject. And as a matter of fact, to put out the news at the time of this particular recording, right? They did talk with him, right? So they tried to clean up, but they have an interview with was it Porter? Yeah, one of them. One over that interview, I think was, if it's not with Porter or somebody, but it's the second interview they had, right? The first interview they had the person for the internet, some social media person. So this one they had, I think it was with Porter Reed, and they actually said they're going to do. Well, I can't remember who exactly what it was, but who it was, I can't remember if it was Porter or somebody else. But they did say they was going to try the Dad's on duty, but Papa's on patrol. That's the kind of acronym they said for they'll change the acronym. They said they was thinking about doing that, and they wanted to reiterate that we're not saying you can't defend yourself, but it's clearly stated in your letter, right? Clearly stated in your letter.
I read it. I read it. I know exactly what they were saying.
Yeah, it's clearly it's stated in there. So they tried to clean that part up, and they have some. They said it was going to try to do something there. But yeah, you can have the homeowner just do that. You know what I mean? You can have the homeowner just act like that.
And
but this the thing, before I forget, let me go ahead and say this before I forget. The problem I think they may have with that, I hope they do it and I hope they be successful. But as another caller had brought up, or another person brought up, that they don't have no male principals in the school district, right? Now, this is another old trope, old type of racist tactic they do with the role reversals, right? And typically in a man-woman relationship, right, you're seeing the man as the leader, the male as the leader. But unfortunately, within our own people, right, black alpha male energy is suppressed. Unfortunately, it's suppressed, and a lot of kids need that. And that black alpha male energy is what had them Dad's on duty was able to dare to give them, because when you have sometimes, now that's not all the time, I'm not talking about all women or whatnot, we have great women that are in leadership positions, but you need to have some men in there as a mixture of it, right? Especially when you're dealing with young men, because a lot of times, now you can hear this from women will say this too, you'll have women that'll have a more snappier attitude towards the men when they're doing something, right? And when you have a good, strong man over there that a young child can go ahead and look at, or a young teenager can look at for leadership, hey, you kind of understand a little bit of my aggression being a man. We have testosterone running through our bodies, and you as a man can understand what I'm going through. You know what I mean? So that needs to change too. We need to have some black male energy as the principals up in there to go ahead and really make this successful. They probably just want to do a little copy and paste by seeing this and doing it, but you have to have the whole culture of black male leadership in there. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. They can do something like almost like recruiting, make a attractive package, because there's some talented brothers. If you go look at a lot of these HBCUs, man, you got some real smart, educated young brothers that will really benefit. Let me tell you something I noticed, man. It hurt me to my heart. um I think I don't know if you knew, man, but I'm probably the only black man in America who has worked or stepped foot inside of over 40 correctional institutions between Texas and Florida.
Wow.
And I've done this within the last 8 years. I worked a couple of years on death row in Texas. I worked at over
Dang.
30 prisons in Texas. Recently, I worked in the Florida prison system. Currently working in the jail system in Tampa. Um, what I see, and the people who really know me, they know I'm a huge fan of. Let's just put it out there. I'm a huge fan of the Memorial football team.
Yeah, right.
The Titans. I've been known to jump on an airplane and fly from Florida all the way to Houston and drive to Port Arthur just to watch the Titans play.
Wow.
What a lot of people probably don't know, except the parents themselves, but working inside of all those prisons that I worked at, I've run into several Memorial Titan football players who are locked up inside a prison. And man, that hurt me to my heart. I will not mention their names for obvious reasons, but it just hurt me to my heart. And I'm like, what in the heck is going on? And not just football players, but there are just a lot of students. When you talk about prisoner pipeline, we just got to ask ourselves, what happened? And that's very discouraging, disheartening to see that. And I agree with you. We have to reverse course. We have to do something. We got to alter the course. And I think one of the biggest alternatives, or one of the more beneficial alternatives, is to get more male influence. I love the ladies. My aunts were school teachers, principals in the school district. Again, my mother worked in the district. Both my grandmothers were females that worked in the district. So my history is very deep within the school district. However, I will say, I would like to see more males. And they don't have to be in rah-rah, I'm going to tell you what to do, but,
Right.
just a presence, because that'll make
good
a heck of a
understanding.
lot of difference. And I'm sorry, if you can't find any,
You
that's
can.
because you're not looking.
Yeah, you can. There's no reason you can't. You're absolutely right about that. You can find the male role models and you need it. But unfortunately, the whole system is so corrupt, man. You have to gut this inside out. I mean, it's so corrupt. We have some people coming from the school district over to the city. Kinlaw been there a while. You have Frank over there, and you had Barty. I think Barty was a homeowner, something like that. And it's just bringing all that bad negative energy over to the city side of it, and it's really doing some problems. Now I'm gonna tell you this, right? The culture is so screwed up that we have a mayor, right, that used to be a homeowner. Now it's allegedly they called him Small Fee Barty. And
Wow.
and what he used to do, right, allegedly, right, a lot of people say it, but I haven't brought it up in a minute. But allegedly the man would charge these kids $5 if they happen to be tardy or something like that and go to class. He actually charged these kids money. You know what I mean? And now
Wow.
we have him as a mayor. So we have the culture all screwed up, and a lot of us kind of giving a pass to that. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and go through it right here, but I'm going to go through it on my conclusion of all these calls. Brother, we had a good call, and I'm going to go ahead and leave you with the final word on here to go ahead and bring us out. And what's the last thought you want to give us on this?
The last thought I want to give on this, man, change has to come from within. Who better to lead the future than the people who are the future? I would like to see more young men in the high schools learn about government, learn about politics, The young men like myself, who after they graduated, they pretty much stayed home. If we can get a collection of those young men and women to engage, right now, start bringing them to the city council meetings, start teaching them how to campaign, let them sit on some of these school board meetings and what have you. And I think that instead of like what we got in the United States right now, we arguing over who's better to run the country, two 80-year-old men. You know what I mean? So the same,
Right.
I look at Port Arthur as politics as the same. You arguing over, we arguing over who gonna run the show the best, and I just hate to say it, they old. Their ideas are just not there anymore. Their ideas are not conducive to what the city potentially can be, or where it's been. So again, I'm sorry, but
Oh
I
no,
kind
go
of
ahead.
got off base. But I
Hey,
say
no,
in
go ahead, get on base because I have to touch on that one too. Go ahead.
in conclusion, yeah, I would like to see more young kids, between the ages of 17 and 25, let's say, get more involved in politics and come with their fresh ideas and their renewed energy. And that's how you'll fix all of this madness.
Right now, I want to go ahead and jump on that because I have a little different type of ideal on that. Right
Hmm.
now, just because you're young does not mean you're going to have the right ideas. Right now, we
Correct.
have two people on there. We have with Brandon Barty and we have Taylor Getwood. Both of these at one time, I think in 2015, if I remember correctly, for Barty, at 35 or 31 years old, he was the youngest um, person in the state, school board member in the state, right? So he held that brand, right? Then as soon as Taylor came in, he was also the youngest at age 18, a school board member. So in Port Arthur, they use the race first. If they use race first black, right? If
Hmm.
they can't use black anymore, they'll use gender. They'll play the gender divide, the black women against the black men. They'll play that. Now, once they can't play that anymore, right? They go to the youth, right? Because everybody think just because you're young, you're gonna be youthful, and you have two right now, right? Both of these individuals are on mute, don't have anything to say about this, right? I couldn't get a
Wow.
contact with Boy T. Taylor, he not answering my calls anymore, right? So calling them and tagging them, they don't have anything to say, but they sell you on they're going to bridge the gap between the students, the teachers, and the administration. All of this is theatrics. All of this is theatrics. All of this is lies. All of this is cap, like the young folks saying,
Yeah.
cap. So you just have to understand. We need to look for doers, what the people are actually doing. Make sure they're keeping true to their words. And a lot of these people are puppets. So we have to watch out for puppets that they'll look like you, talk like
Hmm.
you. And I seen it with Taylor. I was hoping Taylor had a little bit difference in him, but I seen he was hanging around in Savoys. I seen him being in a newspaper like every other day, like he was the only student in the paper from Memorial. I kind of knew that there. Then they had him
Oh.
with the George Floyd situation. They had him chanting, so they making him look like a civil rights leader. So they packaged this young dude up, right? And now, boom, when you need a young person to speak up for the young folks, right, and to speak up with the new ideas, right? Right now we need the new ideas for disciplining kids, but they can't be found. They don't know. They just puppets. They just shields for
Wow.
the administration, the status quo to stick it to the black and brown kids. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave that right there because I'm gonna go ahead and do that on my closing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, well, we got to talk again, man. This is a good conversation, and I really, you just enlightened me. Like I said, I've been removed from Port Arthur almost 20 years,
Right.
and I'm just wasn't familiar with a lot of that, and I didn't know those two individuals that you mentioned
Yeah.
were school board members, because when I approached the school board members, I think it was back in
Right. Yeah.
2018. I approached, I sent each one of them a certified letter that I pretty much poured my heart out, representing my family,
Yeah.
and every single one of them ignored me. And I happened to fly home And I'll just go ahead and say it. Kenneth Lofton
Right.
had approached me because he knew what was going on. He received a letter. And, the man told me, he say, hey, man, we already got the names of the schools. And I was like, well, wait, the people supposed to be voting. And so that told me right then and there that whole voting thing was smoke and mirrors.
No vote.
And, he told me, as I always looked at him as a big brother. I think he graduated with my older brother. And so I've always looked at him as a big brother. And when he embraced me, he was like, man, this is what we're going to do for your family. We building a new transportation center, and we're going to put your mom's name on there. Man, I couldn't wait to get home. I called my sister, my aunties. I called everybody. Y'all, this is what they going to do. They were so happy. But guess what, man? That was a bold-faced lie.
Ooh.
And I've lost every ounce of respect for that guy. I've lost every single ounce of respect in my fiber for that guy. Yeah. And, it's just, that was a hurting feeling. He hurt me. He hurt my family with that bold-faced lie, something that's near and dear to us. But I don't want to get off into that, and I don't want people to think that I came on your podcast to dog them out because I have an ulterior motive. No, I put that, they lied to me and my family. I put that behind me. Thank God, the school officials on the state level in the state of Kansas recognized my mom.
Yeah,
and I'm very grateful. Very grateful for that. So I'm good on that situation. But no, with the whole, we're gonna charge kids for defending themselves. Man, I just looked in the mirror. I looked at that and saw myself in my situation. Man, I don't want these kids to have to go through that. And again, get the teachers some help. Get them some help. We got some good, fabulous teachers. Get them some help because they can't be referees. They can't be prison guards. They're there to be educators, but get them some help, get them some time off, get them some more incentives to want to do a good job, boost that morale in there.
Right.
And but I'm gonna just leave you with that, man. Hey, we got to have another conversation, man.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're gonna have another one soon, man, because this is a hot topic, and we need to stay on this. We need to stay on this, talk about it, let people know, because they ain't gonna talk to you about it. They'll have a controlled interview where they have with the Port Arthur News or one of these news agencies that's not going to ask them the questions that I'd ask them.
Right. But you or anybody else, man, if y'all have any questions, if you want to talk to me or anything, get my input or anything like that, man, you're more than welcome. I still travel the country. I speak to at-risk youth. I speak to athletes. Matter of fact, next week I'm going to IMG Academy. I don't know if you ever heard of that school. It's the #1 football team in the nation.
Okay.
And they bring me in because they want me to talk to these kids about the prison system and the dangers of making bad choices. I can be invited to something of that magnitude and level, but my own hometown don't even think I'm good enough to talk to the athletes who I love. But anyway.
Yeah, hey, I think Bun B was saying there's something similar about him. You have a Bun B day in Houston, or Houston showing more love than we do out here in Port Arthur. And heck, even Steven Jackson was saying something about it. He really got on Port Arthur real raw. So,
I learned it real quick. I appreciate Port Arthur. It gave me some good memories. It taught me to be me. When my mom died a tragic death, the city pretty much rallied around me and made sure that, I at least made it out of high school. So I love those experiences, and I love you all for doing that. And, my heart will always be in Port Arthur. But, yeah, I'm kind of on the same side as some of them. Is like, it's time to just move on. And then, I go where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. And that's why, you see me in all these different cities around the United States. And I absolutely love Tampa, Florida. And I just put it like that, not dogging my city out or anything like that, but sometimes you just got to move on. You just gotta, you got to just close doors and move on. With that being said, man, I love you. I love, all the kids, and I hope y'all get that situation, rectified, man. You're a fighter. I've been watching you on social media. I admire your courage, your determination. Your enthusiasm, and man, keep up the good fight, man, because if more people can get on board and just kind of listen to what you have to say, again, they can turn this thing around, man, and some great things can start happening.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I always say, man, you don't have to agree with everything I say, but if you listen to it, you might learn something.
You might learn something. Hey man, I thank you so much for allowing me on your podcast, and good luck to you. And like I said, in the future, if you need anything, brother, you got my information. Just hit me up.
Oh yeah, I do appreciate it, brother. And the pleasure was all mine having you over here. Take it easy.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Peace.
Bye bye.
Okay, everybody, I'm back. First of all, I want to thank everybody for all the calls that we had and all the people that contributed to the podcast that came through and gave their opinion on this fiasco at PAISD. But now I'm about to go ahead and get into my little segment of it, right? The conclusion of it, where I give my thoughts without anybody else on the line opinion. Without I'm kind of go ahead and go on my little tangent. Now, right, first thing I've noticed, right, PAISD, they have a lot of problems over there, right? For one thing I've noticed when I've done my little short investigation is that for some reason they let the bullies run free, right? They let the bullies control the yard. They let the bullies control everything. For some reason, a lot of people I've been talking to, whenever parents come up to the school district and talk about bullies, right, that they don't get any kind of resolve. They say, hey, we have to work with them. They have to do this. They have to do that. But there's never any type of discipline in it, right? And this leads me to believe that a lot of these kids are doing the bullies. They're connected to some friends and family members of the PAISD board members or the actual staff, right? So this is a major problem when you have this type of leadership, when you have a biased leadership, right? When you have leaders that play favorites. Now this can throw the whole morale of the employees and the morale of the students because I'm not popular or whatever, I don't know this person, I'm not related to that person, that these kids will get a pass in. And really, that's a major problem we need to focus on, right? And a lot of things I've been noticing, man, the leadership, they don't return the phone calls. Nobody wants to do their job and meet up with the parents, talk to them about certain issues. They want to put it to the side. I'm hearing a lot of times that Puerto Rico don't want to speak to nobody, don't want to talk to anybody. I mean, man, look, you're getting paid $200,000+ a year. You need to be talking to everybody, right? But it's a problem, man, with these lazy ass superintendents and these lazy ass board members. They don't want to talk to nobody. They don't want to do the work. Some of these clowns act like they goddamn rock stars. You have to talk to the agents before you talk to them. It doesn't make any goddamn sense, right? And that's why you need to go ahead and gut this out. The good old boy system over at PAISD is going to forever cause this district to fail. This school district would never soar to the heights that it could soar because you have poor, horrible leadership over there, right? Look, if you need to have people in there that can go ahead and make honest and fair decisions, regardless hiring personnel. The same, like prime example. This guy, the football coach, right? I forgot his name. Young guy, football coach. Well, they had a whole fiasco over him. He passed up a whole lot of talented black quarterbacks and athletic directors to put this white guy. Right now, we have a majority black and brown school, and we know that it's a lot of black coaches are discriminated against, but Port Arthur with a black board, black superintendent, we find the only way to hire a white athletic director and a white football coach when he was underqualified, in my opinion, than the rest of them. So we have a lot of good old boy systems. We goddamn have a lot of puppets that can't think for themselves. And this is a major problem. This is going to always be the downfall until we can gut these people out. We have to gut these people out and then we can make a better progress with this, right? And again, it brings me to the overall culture. We have a horrible culture with leaders over at PAISD, man. I have to just accentuated. I have to focus on it because we are not getting past this without changing the culture and gutting out these damn near criminal, unethical ass leaders. Now, we having a problem with a lot of these poor quality type of board members, right? Once they go on the school board, and they come over and they migrate over to the city of Port Arthur, right? We seen that with first one I can remember of is Kinlaw, Thomas Kinlaw. You know, word has it that for some reason he came over there because he had some issues with another board member, and he allegedly retaliated on an employee because they was arguing with his wife, who's if I'm not mistaken, some type of employee at a certain level at the school district. So his wife or somebody got into it. He got into the midst of, I think, it had to be two women arguing or whatnot. Then somebody had filed a grievance at the school board, and he got found, guilty or at fault, something like that. So I don't know what any kind of disciplinary was, but ultimately they say he was found at fault, and then he ended up leaving, going to the running for the city council. Right now, we have our mayor, who's Thurman Bartee, who was a hall monitor, right? It was a hall monitor, and it's allegedly said that when our mayor was a former hall monitor, used to call him Small Fee Bartee. For a small fee, you can get him to do whatever you need him to do. You can kind of get out of tardy passes. If you can get tardy passes or something like that, well, you can get out of trouble by giving them $5 or something like that, right? Highly unethical, probably criminal for bribery. Most likely it is, right? But we have these low quality, poor, trash type of board members, leadership in our ranks. And until we can actually guarantee they make them, do right, or if they end up selling out the people, we have to get them out. We have to get them out. We have to call them out. We have to pretty much wage political war on these people because they're waging war on our kids. And we also have Frank, right? We have Donald Frank. You also know the whole history with his personal problems. He also come to the school board member to tearing up the EDC. We wasting money on we already had a process in place to go ahead and get our other EDC director, but we got Frank don't have a clue what he's goddamn doing. He put other people in the board, in the EDC board, that doesn't know what they're doing, and they go screw up everything. They want to get a EDC director of their choosing, was Ike Mills. Could not do that because they violated policy. So now we have to go back when it was supposed to be Mr. George Davis taking over that position. They end up doing some crazy stuff, and now we have to he's gonna be interim now until they find another director. But hell, he's supposed to be the director, and then then they end up screwing it around. Now we have to hire a hiring company to go ahead and find another director, which doesn't make any goddamn sense. We losing money out the wazoo due to these clowns over here. So, and they don't take the time to follow the rules, know what the rules are. They just want to do what they want to do and go ahead and run everything into the ground. So we have a real serious leadership problem, culture problem. They end up being the people that you're like, all these people claim to be church going, real nice guys or whatever, allegedly, that it's just, but they end up being trash, poor leadership, poor quality, allegedly on narcotics, just all kind of personal issues, man, that any other city wouldn't even think about having these clowns as their leaders. But unfortunately, us at Port Arthur, we don't really understand politics to a great deal. But I can understand somebody like Bartee kind of coming on. He's trying to be for the people, but then he kind of, when he gets in there, flip the script. That's understandable. You just got to get this clown out of there, and then you just have to keep, harping down on the council, calling all of them out every time you see them. So that's the major crux of it. Good old boy system, poor trash leadership culture, where we have these thugs on the school board, on the council, as mayor, charging, bribing the goddamn kids. So we have a whole plethora of goddamn problems. Now another major problem that we have, right? We are truly brainwashed. We believe we don't really love our kids, man. We say that we love our kids, but then again, when I was talking, we don't really love them, man, because we feel good and we think it's all right. We're elected officials, school staff to not care about the kids. Now we're doing some talking, on the post and whatnot. Now this has to be the craziest thing I ever heard. But again, I do is nothing personal. I do appreciate everybody for giving their commentary, because this is really what I need. I really need to understand how people think, and so I can give my humble opinion on what seems to be the problem, right? And this is, and trust me, whenever I put the post up, it's not for everybody to agree with me. Hell, you don't even have to agree with me, but I want to see everybody can make sense of their argument, right? If you have an argument that you truly believe that board members don't have to care, anybody doing their job don't have to care about the students or the job, I just want you to articulate that, right? And the same thing with me. If I feel as, hey, I do believe that the parents should, not the parents, the teachers, board members, anybody dealing with minors, they should care. So, I can articulate that. So that's the main thing that I do with these posts, right? Just because, it comes to different things, not anything personal. We want to try to chop everything up, have a good discussion about it, because the school board members, right, they're not giving you this discussion. They don't want to talk to you about it. They want to talk to somebody on their terms. Somebody's going to ask the easy questions, right? The questions where you can't really kind of come back and play off of the words. So, I try to do it over here. So and we have to understand these black kids, right? These black and brown kids have historically been looked at as the enemy. I mean, it goes way back into the Jim Crow, right? Where black kids were thought as super strong, stronger than everything else. Like that, if you beat these kids, nothing hurts us. Like nothing hurts us. We're black folks, nothing hurts us. You can abuse us. We can always take the pain. So that, in case when it comes to the kids, our kids are always looked as animals or grown men. Like with Tamir Rice, they shot him, that young man, when he was playing with a toy gun. After the 911 call said that, hey, it looks like he has a toy gun. But when it comes to other white kids, they use all kind of training, all kind of patience. They don't do anything. Man, they have so much empathy when they're talking to the young white kids, or whenever the white kids going on a shooting tangent, right? So it's a discriminatory process anytime that, when we put the law into our kids' lives. It's always a negative. It's always a negative. Nothing positive comes out of that for our kids. So, man, we have to understand this. We have to love each other. We have to love ourselves enough to love our kids, that we must require board members, teachers, faculty, and staff that they should care about our kids, man. It's not that they shouldn't care and just go and do their jobs, right? Because everybody know a person that cares about their job going to do a lot better than a person that doesn't care about their job. So we need to understand these mental prejudices that we have against our own kids, right? We need to make sure we go in there and purge this coon gene out. Like Dr. Umar says, we have a coon gene in our brain, and sometimes whenever it's discipline, we kind of activate it, right? So just understand, like, whenever it was the war on drugs, when it was the black community, tougher drug laws, tougher crime, more police. So with all of that, right, we still have drugs, right? It didn't do anything to the war on drugs. We just incarcerated a lot of black folk. And the same thing with this. Just like with meth, right? When the white community was the primary victims of meth, what they did, they didn't do any kind of strong criminal actions to them. They didn't do more police. They didn't do more locking up, more a crime bill, so to speak. What they did was gave them treatment. They gave them treatment. They gave them detox spots to deal with that issue. So understand, we have to turn away from constantly putting our kids or volunteering our kids to go into the criminal justice system, man, because whenever they catch that case, man, it's going to follow them throughout their lives, man. Just like you had another caller that said, right, Mr. Tim, he kind of was giving you examples that he had to deal with, right? And so whenever you go into going to okay a school district that goes to the zero tolerance policy, that's all hogwash. That's all bull crap. Is nothing positive come from that. And there's statistics, man. You can go in and look up on this. There's statistics online that can show you that, hey, this garbage doesn't work. Try something else. And I would say the option should be restorative justice. There are some online tools where you can go ahead and practice restorative justice, something that which you don't actually get the kids involved with law enforcement and to give them a goddamn charge, give them a Class C misdemeanor, and screw up their lives, right? So, and then the thing that pissed me off, these clowns know this. All these dog wash ass board members, superintendent, elected officials, anybody that signed off on it at the school level, they know this. They know we are putting our kids in a direct pipeline to we're putting them on the fast track to the school to prison pipeline. I mean, they even had a David Banner come out there. David Banner specifically told them about the zero tolerance policy. So they can't say they don't know. They do know, but they don't give a damn about your kids, right? And just like they said, they don't have the time nor the energy to go ahead and deal with all of this. They don't have the time nor the energy to care about your kids, right? But unfortunately, some of us black folks are failing that dumbass mind frame to agree with them that, hey, they don't have to care, they just have to come do their jobs, right? No. These kids are minors. You have to understand, right? The school is sometimes the first place where these kids interact with other people themselves or older. So you can't tell a goddamn 5th grade elementary kid, hey, you need to start acting good in this, you need to start acting good, or you're going to, send you to jail, we go get you a charge, we go send you to the police, because these kids are kids. That's what they do, man. You got to understand, man, y'all shouldn't have kids if y'all don't really love them and have the doggone compassion to understand they're going to do things as a kid. And as an educator, you need to be able to understand that dealing with minors, right? You don't deal with minors as you do with goddamn adults. This shit is goddamn sickening. I can't believe all this crazy crash dummy ass shit that was going on, and we greenlighting this, and unfortunately we putting our own kids at home with this, man. You got to understand, man, when you dealing with a 17-year-old, 16-year-old, 15-year-old, they're going through puberty. You can tell them to do this, you can tell them to do that, but sometimes they have to learn for themselves. They have to get out there and deal with certain people and deal with their doggone emotions. But you need people to be able to coach them through that. You understand? And especially when you have these kids playing football, playing volleyball, soccer, baseball, all of these different type of sports where they're, using their physical abilities to go ahead and win the game. You'll have certain attitudes about that. So, kids have to learn how to do that. They're learning how to do that, and you have to have patience with them. If you don't have patience, don't care, don't have the time or the energy, this needs not to be you need to find a different type of job. You need to find a different type of career, because unfortunately, if we continue with this zero policy bullcrap, this is going to do nothing but cause problems for us to deal with later on in life. And if we shoot the kids to the prison early on, we're going to have to deal with them in prison later on when they get out. So everybody understand we need to have more love in these kids, right? And we need to stay on Portery ass. We need to stay on the board members' ass, especially these young guys like Boy T, and you have, hey, but you signed up for it, Taylor Getwood. Unfortunately, y'all two are the young ones, and y'all still claim that bull crap that y'all speak for the youth and all this and that. Now is the right time versus anybody. You need to put your youth input in here and to come up with ways like that we don't have to put our kids in the school to prison pipeline. You have to. Y'all ran on this. But you let these people form you into the puppet that they want you to form into. Now you're out here looking stupid. You're out here looking stupid because you let these people tell you one thing. You ran in office and got in this position where you just thought you could just run on autopilot. But now look, you have to go out here and goddamn do something for these kids. But I don't see how you can live with yourself. It's a lie. You know you're lying to yourself. Y'all know y'all lying to the kids. I don't see how you all can be out there with it. Well, I understand Barty. They've been sold out they're going to be. But Taylor Gatwood, you have the chance to actually be something for these kids. You have the opportunity to be what you're going to say you're going to be. Look, I know you're busy, and I don't even see why you ran for office. You over here with your TSU over here one way, and you running back to school. Boy, you really probably don't have time for it. But you serve to be a public servant. Now you have to do it. You have to do the job that you wanted to be, right? You wanted to be. You're going to have to listen to all these critiques. You're going to have to listen to everybody critiquing your performance, talking crazy to you. You're going to have to listen to it. That's what you signed up for. That's what this is, right? And despite a lot of people, now you're going to have to prove a lot of people wrong, right? That said you were 18, couldn't do it, 17 couldn't do it, 19 couldn't do it, however old you are. You need to show that this was all bull crap, this was cap, or you really meant what you said, right? So you're going to have to look inside your heart and deal with it. You're going to have to look in the mirror and tell yourself, am I a lie? Am I really a man, or I'm just a puppet? But I couldn't live on my knees as a goddamn puppet. That's y'all. That's what y'all want to do for whatever. But yeah, man, I know I probably messed some things up, but I'm going to go ahead and end it this way. Everybody, appreciate y'all that called in, participated on this, and take it easy till the next time. Peace.